Yep. Okay.
Guys, there's a series of shows on Lifetime, and it looks like it's kind of like Real Housewives, but it's all little people.
Oh yeah. I saw that when it was like it was suggested to me. I was like, why the fuck is this suggested to me?
It's kind of, no, look, right there.
What do you find?
Little Women Atlanta, Little Women Dallas, Little Women LA.
These are Real Housewives shows, but starring dwarves.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is the exact same beer that we always get.
Yes, this is the new label.
I like it.
I don't know. I like the other one because it looks like the building,
Yeah.
and now this one looks like cactuses.
This
with
one looks
pot
like
plants.
it looks like Texas.
Is it entertaining?
Yeah, we're just.
Little Women.
I don't know. It's Independence. I like them. They're fine. They're on sale right now.
Oh, nice.
That's all I care about is the fact it's like $7 for a 6-pack,
Right.
Seen Atlanta.
and Lone Star's on sale for like $6. So I'm like,
Okay.
cool.
I keep hearing good things about it, and neither have I.
About what?
Atlanta.
The show?
Oh, it's really good.
Oh, it's really good.
I've watched the first season and a half.
There's 2 or 3 seasons now.
Yeah.
God, I'm so behind on
It's not a show for everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely not a show for everybody. Why did I unplug this and put it on? Have you watched his Amazon movie?
Yeah,
Guava Island?
Guava Island. Yeah,
Was it good?
It was adorable. It was very much one of those videos that a musician makes for their album that is just the music video of their whole album.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See,
Like-
it didn't come across.
It,
that
it
in a little
didn't.
bit of
No.
trailer.
And the whole time, like, Rihanna is standing there the entire movie and she never sings a line. And I was a little upset by that, but it's not her album.
Right.
So she doesn't sing in the album, but she's just there as a character, which is cool because she does a great job, but also I really wanted her to sing the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, oh, hi, I'm gonna get one of like this great singer to be in my movie where we're going to sing, and she's not gonna sing at all. That sounds like a dumb idea, honestly.
You know
Like,
that Rihanna has actually, like, she's been getting backlash from her fans for not releasing music, and she basically just told her fans to go fuck themselves.
Good for her.
okay.
They were like, she was like,
She's not-
I started a beauty line, I started a lingerie line, I've been starring in these fucking badass movies.
Yeah,
You want
she
me to
has.
Sing? Don't give a shit.
Mhm.
She's like, I make money either way.
Dollar bills.
Still listen to my shit on
y'all.
Spotify. I'm still making money.
Dollar bills.
I was like, she's been pretty busy, and people were fucking nagging her for not singing. Like, she's more than just a singer.
Yo.
All right, we're ready
I
to.
didn't even realize we were live. Hey, you're
Oh,
you're
dude,
right.
pretty much the moment to sit down, I put us live, and then we do audio tests and shit.
Okay.
We're also running really late, so I was making sure to just put us live,
Well, that's
then
Hector's
check
fault.
everything. What?
That's Hector's fault.
Yeah, it's
It
entirely
is my
Hector's
fault. I was late.
So he gets for talking to people he probably shouldn't be talking to.
Hey, everything is fine.
I-
There's
you're-
no nothing.
I'm not allowed
I
to
know it
talk-
sounds
yeah.
bad, but
Yeah, it
it,
sounds-
it was
it sounds
fine.
bad.
It was actually good.
It sounds
Hector
bad.
rules and Tony rules are two different things.
That's fair.
Just because Tony's
I
not
think they're
allowed
very.
to do
They're like the same rules.
Just because Tony's not allowed to do something doesn't mean that Hector's not.
All right, let's do our audio test.
Testicles.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is my audio test. 1, 2, 3. Hector, would you like to
Hector's
say
texting
something?
people. Hector, who are you texting?
Hello,
Hexter?
Internet.
Hexter the texter.
Hector, that's not going to be a thing.
Oh, it's already a thing.
No thing. Okay. Hello, audio test. This is the internet. I mean, hello, internet. This is my audio test.
We are all very loud, I can tell.
Yeah. Do you need to like knock us down a peg?
See, Hexter. See, that's your new online name right there,
I'll
Hexter.
take it. No, it's so lame. That's like just the X's and the 0 for the O.
Yeah, it's like
Not that mine's
it's like,
much
it's
better.
like you're like a '90s kid, basically.
Yeah.
I
you
find
can-
out something really cool
lead it up.
about my my favorite
Okay,
movie.
good. We
this
got the
week.
audio good. Awesome.
Yeah. So one of my favorite movies of all time, like if anyone ever asked me to like a top 5 list of anything, it
Right.
would probably be in the top 3. Is the movie Way of the Gun.
Mm-hmm.
Way of the Gun was written and directed by a guy whose name I'm having a really hard time remembering, but it's something like McKinnon, who won the Oscar for Best Screenplay for The Usual Suspects before
Okay.
he turned 30. Then he made one of my favorite movies, Way of the Gun, that bombed so hard he did not have another credit in Hollywood for 8 years.
Wow.
until
That's really bad.
until-
that's fucking awful, actually.
and it's an incredible movie until he got the chance to work on Valkyrie, which is where he met Tom Cruise. And him and Tom Cruise have piloted and engineered the Mission Impossible series ever since.
Oh, okay.
One of the honestly really great franchises that no one ever thinks about.
I just don't think about Mission Impossible because I hate Tom Cruise. Honestly, if he wasn't in it, I'd probably actually watch it.
Mission Impossible is Tom Cruise. Though.
See, that's the thing. It's like, I don't.
The movie series would be nothing without Tom Cruise.
Then I have zero interest in watching it. Then I just don't watch Tom Cruise.
It did. There's nothing to not respect about the man aside from his choice in religion.
Yeah, that's the reason I refuse to give him money.
He's one of the hardest working, nicest actors
And
in
he's
Hollywood.
batshit fucking crazy, and I refuse to give batshit fucking crazy money.
I feel like there's a lot of batshit crazy people.
There is a lot of batshit crazy people. I specifically find out the actors and directors and organizations I don't want to give money to, businesses that I don't feel are ethically in the right, so I don't give them money.
As he rolls up into Chick-fil-A for a sandwich.
Yeah, right.
Every now and then you have to pay your hate chicken tax.
All right.
Actually, no. Like, at this point, HEB fucking knocked that shit off, and it's fucking great. I can go get frozen fucking chicken. Tastes exactly like Chick-fil-A any fucking time I want.
We are already late. Can we do the show, please?
I've seen HEB throw out some popcorn chicken lately. I've been scared to try it. I'm not
No,
gonna
they got
lie.
that Southern style chicken.
No idea.
It literally just tastes like fucking. It's Chick-fil-A. It's exactly fucking Chick-fil-A. You don't have to buy Chick-fil-A anymore. Anytime you want it, throw some in the fucking oven.
All right, let's go.
Alrighty. Gotta find the mouse. There we are. Ready?
Ever want to help influence your favorite games? Boy, do we have a job for you. Adventures, gear up for an all-new episode.
I feel at some point we have to do a blow into the cartridge and stick that fucker back in kind of opening. Like, those aren't the right words for it, but like a Nintendo opening.
Oh, okay. I see
Yeah,
what
you
you're
gotta go
Just blow into. All right.
blow into the cartridge and
What if we,
try to press reset for the millionth time.
What if we flub a line really badly, then blow in and reset, and then say it correctly?
I gotta go find the Nintendo, make the clicky sounds and record them.
It's hang on, James's contacts aren't connecting properly. All right, adventures.
All right, let's go. Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Hi.
And with us, as always, our third chair host, Hector,
Howdy.
who made us run a little bit late today, but that's okay. We
That is
forgive
my
him.
fault.
You know,
But, I mean,
sometimes
look,
traffic just sucks.
you know what? We're in the end game now, so.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the things that we are not going to be talking about today.
No.
But if you're new to our show, welcome. This week's Boss Room, our main topic for the show, we'll be talking about the unsung hero of the gaming world, the community manager. But before that, we have the weekly raid, which is a recap of all the nerd news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com, where you can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for the Prelude.
Yeah, I don't know why I never thought about using that as one of our in-between section sounds. Is the sound of a fucking blaster. Rikink, rikink, rikink. Because it makes such an iconic noise. You know exactly what it is in your head.
That's true.
And if you look at it, if you take those apart, the machinery for why it does that is fucking stupid. It's way over-engineered. It does not
Yeah.
need to be that complicated. There's I get the spring part, but the spring pushes a thing which knocks into another thing. It's like
It's a
like
Rube
this-
Goldberg gun.
Yeah, it's fucking
Yeah.
stupid. We do not need that, and we can't use them anymore.
Nope.
Unless you have a CRT. They did make some new guns. They're supposed to work with LCD screens, or all modern TVs.
We should just do it the way we've been doing it with the little camera that spies on you while
Pretty
you
much.
bone in your living room that they sell you
Alexa?
with the console. I was thinking of the Xbox. What did they fucking call that shit?
The Xbox had Kinect.
Kinect. There you go.
Yeah,
the
Kinect. Yeah.
Watch as you fuck.
Sony has Move.
Sony has
They have
the Eye. The PlayStation Eye.
Yeah.
Okay, which works with the PlayStation ice cream cones,
It's all part of a thing.
and then it works with the PlayStation gun thing that they made, which no one bought.
No one.
all right, let's go.
And then the VR.
We're behind.
We're right on time now.
No, we're
This
not.
is the correct amount of time. Jenny, calm the fuck down.
Cordell.
Had enough people sass today. Prelude.
All right, this is the prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been watching, what we've been playing, what's been occupying our free time. Obviously, before we begin this section, we all watched Game of Thrones. We all watched Endgame. We can't discuss any spoilers whatsoever about
Because
those.
we're crying.
Because we're too busy crying in a corner. But you can give just a general impression. Do you like it, not like it? Do you want to tell people to go see it? Whatever.
Okay, so Endgame. I mean, you're not gonna go watch it or not go watch it based on my word. Hopefully, you've already seen it, and if not, you have about a month, and then I hope we do like a whole spoiler-full
Probably.
breakdown.
We'll
of what's
give it a
going
month
on.
and-
I want to go see it again before that.
Yeah, no,
that's
I
my
plan on going to see it
endorsement.
again.
I want to go see it again.
Don't they have it in 3D?
Yes,
I think
it
I'm gonna-
actually broke a record for 3D
I'm gonna go.
sales.
I think I'm
along
gonna
with
see
all
it
the
in
other
3D
records it
then.
broke.
I want to go see this one in 3D.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen 3D. Aside, it was Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think it was the last 3D movie I saw.
I think the last 3D movie I saw was Up. Like
Wow.
I really
That
don't.
was-
I really
that was a
don't go
while
to 3D
ago.
movies. I
Wow,
find them
that was.
gimmicky.
You know how many 3D fucking Marvel
basically
3D movies have come out since
the
then?
tagline here
All
is
of them.
Avengers Endgame. If you liked the others, you'll probably like this one.
If you liked all the others, it'd be weird if you didn't see this one.
Yeah, it'd be really odd. You're like probably dead.
And
That's
honestly,
why you didn't go see
in
it.
the population of Earth, if you didn't go see it, you're probably in the minority there.
Yeah, it's very true. It's broken all kinds of records.
Game of Thrones, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack literally the entire episode, and I can't wait to watch that again, too.
See, I feel this
Nope, no
episode of Game of
spoilers,
Thrones.
just
I am not
like or
happy
don't
with
like.
it. I
Okay,
don't
don't
like it.
That's fair.
And it's just because I sat down and I thought about it. The moment you sit down and think about this episode of Game of Thrones, it ruins a lot of it.
I was not in the context of mind to think about it. For me, when I was watching it, it was entirely feels based.
Yeah.
And the whole
At
time,
the
I
moment,
wanted to have
at
a
the
heart
moment,
attack.
it was fucking great. I want to go back on watch it.
but your post-orgasm clarity
I want to also want to turn the
Yeah.
brightness up on my TV so I actually see what the fuck's going on.
That is actually probably your streaming quality more than your TV brightness. You can watch HBO Go through Amazon, and they have a better bitrate.
Okay, do they?
So-
Because
They do.
going through
It's
HBO
literally
now,
double.
So cool, but just throwing this out there, it was the most tweeted about episode of television ever, mostly about how fucking dark it was.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
No, you're not
the cinematographers came out and they said, no, we specifically have been doing this on purpose for years now, but it's now so dark that an episode we want to do just natural lighting
Mm-hmm.
that a battle in the middle of the night is going to be barely fucking visual.
Yeah,
And
this
that
a
was
combination-
annoying for me.
This was where streaming technology meets effects meets TV contrast in general.
And this is
we
why
ba-
game streaming will never work.
We basically had a perfect storm of something that would look worse than it should.
Yep.
And
Okay, so what
It's
have
very-
we
it's
done
very
this
low.
week that weren't those two things that we can
Okay.
actually talk about?
okay,
Pick
so
something.
what else did I do?
I
this
watched
week?
a movie shortly after that on HBO called The Darkest Mind.
Okay.
I thought it was supposed to be like a series, so I went into watching this movie thinking, like, oh, they're gonna make this like post-apocalyptic kind of thing, like kids, like PG-13 kids series on HBO. And it totally would work as a series, but it's just a movie. Like I got super confused when it ended. I was like, okay, when's the next episode?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that was the ending. Like, I guess it's like it's a book series or whatever. Kids.
No, Chad, we're not doing Game of Thrones spoilers.
No Game of Thrones
No Game of
spoilers
Thrones
today.
spoilers. If you want me to, I totally do it.
No,
We will not
we are
today.
not. We are
If
not
you
those
pay us,
people.
you hit that donate button like a motherfucker, I will totally do it.
So you said it's a post-apocalyptic.
It's not really post-apocalyptic. Basically, all the 98% of the world's children die
Okay.
from this disease. The 2% that are left gain powers, and they go from just enhanced intelligence to telekinetics to apparently the highest one is breathing fire.
Okay.
They're super dangerous because they just breathe fire. That's a thing.
Right.
Yes.
I think I remember the trailer for this movie.
Like, I
I've
super
never heard
didn't
of
even
this.
know this was like in theaters or anything, but like if it was a TV series, it would have been fucking awesome.
Right.
As a movie, I know it bombed because why the fuck would you make this anymore? We are way past those types of films.
Right.
Like Hunger Games finished it, and the last movie bombed. We're not making those anymore.
this
The
is
whole
Hunger-
Divergent series was
So
basically
this is
a
just
joke.
Hunger
Yeah.
Games with superheroes, basically.
no, it's not.
That's what you literally
Is it
just said.
yes or no?
It's no. It's similar, but not.
Okay.
No, overall, I actually enjoyed it. As a movie that I would have never picked up, but I was just on Amazon. I was like, oh, Veep. I need to watch my weekly Veep because
Right.
it airs after Game of Thrones.
And Veep is wonderful.
And Veep it's their last season. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the hell out of it. It's
Such a good
it's
show.
The comedy on that is just amazing. And then I was like, oh, okay, I don't really feel like changing to another app. What's this? And I thought it was a TV series. I thought it was a new
Oh,
series.
yeah.
And then I got sad when it wasn't. All right, yeah, no, that was just kind of like what I did watch Bonding. And
I watched
have,
like 3 episodes of Bonding.
I have
loved it.
things to say about that.
So, yeah, let's go ahead and what is the show?
Okay, so
And-
bonding is about a person being introduced to the dominatrix life as their helper / bodyguard. So you have your main character who is basically a cipher for us going into it who don't know about the life, and you have the other main character who is already a dominatrix, and you basically. I don't know how to put it. It demystifies basically a lot of what's going on. I don't know how accurate it is. I assume probably not.
That's my
very.
biggest complaint about it. It's not accurate at all.
I wouldn't know. I don't know anything about
a
that
comedy, a
lifestyle. It is a
drama?
comedy. It is
Okay,
a
so it is a
hardcore
comedy.
comedy. They play the ending of season 2 as someone getting peed on as a comedic effect, even though it's not really for anyone involved. It's supposed to be. I feel like it's supposed to be like the entire show is based on introducing you to people who are like this in a way that is relatable. So it seems overall, whether it's accurate or not about the actual BDSM world, it seems like it's trying something good. Is the impression I get from it.
It feels like somebody did enough research to kind of grasp what that world is, but didn't do enough to care, I guess. Like, they wrote some very fun, entertaining scenes. They wrote some fun, entertaining characters. But that is not indicative of the world that they are portraying.
Right.
Even though you can't have funny things happen.
Right. And
But
not
that's just
everything
life
is
in
funny all the
general.
time, and no one
and
wants to
also
be
these characters, to spoil the ending, there's a
To
How about
spoil
we-
the-
how about-
let's
how about
not-
we
Super
not
Bro,
do that?
spoil the
Super Bro
ending.
Alpha dude shows up, and that's what apparently anybody who's on the male side of the spectrum is a rapist. And if you're not, you are love to get peed on. They never show the gamut of sexuality within it. They say there are the people who are weird, and there are people who are rapists, and there are the
Now,
women who deal
is
with
that,
it.
Is that a product of
do you-
it being a comedy,
Yeah.
or is that a product?
I think it's
of,
a problem of them not fully understanding what that world is and trying to make fun of something that they don't fully understand.
okay.
That's fair. I started watching Cobra Kai today,
Oh,
the
it's
second
so
season.
good.
I'm only like 4 episodes in. It is just as good, if not better, as the first season. Everyone needs to watch this. Okay, it's a YouTube
Before YouTube
series.
cancels it, 'cause they're canceling shit now.
It's a YouTube series, and however you want to digest that, just fucking watch it. If you ever had any at all affinity for the Karate Kid movies as a kid, you owe it to yourself as a human being to watch this
It is,
show.
I mean, even with not
wonderful.
loving the Karate Kid films, it is a good series.
It is really good. It's good all on its own.
Yeah.
But if you at all liked the Karate Kid movies, you're doing yourself a disservice not watching this, and I stand by that.
So on my end, I'll make this pretty short for y'all. The one thing that I did that wasn't Avengers or Game of Thrones is I did watch probably what could be considered the greatest, grandest crossover movie of all time that obviously everybody was waiting for. I watched Glass.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's been on my it's sitting on my shelf. I keep forgetting that I
Yeah,
wanted to watch
it's
that
the-
list.
Man, I wish both of you had seen it because I'm really curious to talk about it with you.
Yeah, it is the M. Night Shyamalan crossover movie. I'd probably save my thoughts for a later date. We can do a little bit more of a deep dive after Tony's seen it.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought it was good.
I did.
I'll probably do it this
I
week.
think,
I've just
I think
been,
that people's
you know,
expectations
away.
were a little bit too high of it, and that was part of the problem.
I think they were expecting something different, and
Yeah.
they didn't.
And that's like the curse of M. Night Shyamalan. Every time he comes up with something new and interesting and unique, everybody goes, "Okay, your next one has to be fucking better."
Remember how
And
much
he locks
everyone
him-
hated Unbreakable when it came out?
I liked Unbreakable when it first came out.
Yes,
'cause
but
it was,
the consensus was
the
that this
consensus was
movie
that it was
is stupid.
hated, but
Yeah.
like most of his stuff after Unbreakable was like, this is shit. Like the last good one was Unbreakable.
Yeah, so people have very strong divisive opinions about that. I'll wait till Tony gets to watch it.
I'll probably do that this week. It's just been on my. There was a lot of things going on this week. I
lot
did
of
not
things.
have a chance to watch it. This
It was an emotionally draining week.
It was hard to even get the notes together for this week's show because I was like, man, I'm just so drained from the weekend. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
and the not to again no spoilers, but just that end cap of Game of Thrones, like right before bed Sunday night, just like completely sucked all the life out of me for the
Right.
week. As like you get off of Endgame and then you're just kind of chilling, you do whatever you're gonna do that day, dive right into Game of Thrones, and then you're going to bed like, I need a vacation. Like,
Right.
I need
Like,
a
I
goddamn
really-
break.
No, I kind of super agree with that. Like I woke up this morning being like, I just need another day.
Yeah.
Like I just need a day of playing video games, not doing
Yeah.
anything, because now I can be on the internet. I don't have to like find.
Yeah,
other
that's
shit.
another thing. I had to be off the internet like most of last week just to avoid spoilers.
yeah.
Yeah, no, like we were about to leave to watch Endgame, and I'm going through like just my news, like checking my phone. It's like Endgame spoiler, like right. I'm like motherfucker, like I didn't even want. Why? Why
Phone
would you do
away.
this? They did the exact same thing on Sunday for Game of Thrones.
Oh, Game of Thrones spoilers were bad. Like, I was on the internet a little bit today, and all of the memes were just full-on spoilers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel bad for anyone who didn't see it last night.
All right, that's everything we have for our prelude this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our news segment, The Weekly Raid.
307, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, yeah, I didn't see that we had any questions or anything, but yeah, it is I mean, the world kind of goes to shit a little bit, but, you know, in my mind, killing off 98% of the children is like kind of a utopia at that point, because I fucking hate children.
What are we talking about?
Or just
Unbreakable?
No,
Like, children didn't
post-
die in Unbreakable.
no, in the movie I watched.
Okay. Hey, didn't you guys both finally watch Black Summer?
I haven't finished it.
Oh,
No.
You should. You,
I
you
haven't
definitely
started
should.
it yet.
It's wonderful.
Can I also play video games while
It's
I'm
like
doing it?
It's like 8 episodes long.
Can
and
I also
then
play video games while
The
I'm
last
doing
3
it?
episodes are like 20 minutes long.
Because like tonight, I'm thinking I need to watch something and also kind of go, oh, cool, I'm playing. Like I don't want to actively play, but I also need to like something. Is it?
You
Can I
try-
do that?
I bet you will start doing that and then stop playing games and just watch it.
You know?
Well, I basically I have tonight to get this level.
All right, we're
So I
good.
need to do it.
Yeah.
The weekly raid.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is The Weekly Raid. It is our news roundup for the week. So, one of the things that I really love about the new show format that we've been doing since 300 is it gives us a little bit more flexibility to talk about nerdy things that weren't relegated to specific
Yeah, no,
areas.
we can embrace the tangent and
Yeah.
the sidetrack and
Yeah.
the bit of news that might come out like, oh, this phone's coming out. Or like,
Yeah.
let's talk about that for 5 seconds
So-
because it's actually interesting.
I
Weird shit.
love board games.
Yeah?
Obviously.
Not something we would previously talk
Yeah,
about.
I played a really
Right?
great board game on Sunday that I never played before, but I digress. Keep going.
And I love Bloodborne, right? And we found out this week that there's a Kickstarter that just launched over this last week. It's getting a official Bloodborne board game.
Okay.
Now, this is done by a company that is
It's called You've Died.
So this company's already launched 11 successful Kickstarters. They followed
called
through
Thanks
on
So
all of them. The products
Wasted.
you're not going into this Kickstarter, dishing out $100 because it is a $100 game.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, if you're buying high-end good board games, you're spending between $80 to
a
$120.
good quality board game, especially an involved one, will be
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, if you're getting miniatures and beautiful boards and like good card stock, you were spending minimum $80, high end about 120, sometimes even up to like 200.
So this company is actually the company that made the Bloodborne card game that you can go into comic
Yeah.
stores and actually buy and play.
See, that I've seen.
Yeah, and so what they did is they said we kind of like the concept. We want to expand on it, make it something even deeper and more involved. So they announced this week we're putting out a Bloodborne board game. It's going to cost $100 to get it.
Okay.
They asked that what they were trying to raise for the Kickstarter is $200,000.
Seems like they
that's-
probably made that in the first day.
Right. Actually, in the first 14 minutes after its launch, it hit the $200,000 mark.
There you fucking
Nice.
go. Nice.
It hit 1.5 million in its first 24 hours.
Jeez.
And they
Jesus.
shit themselves.
And
what were they asking for initially? The 200,000.
200,000.
Jeez.
I have the tab like open at work all the time because I'm gonna back it, and I think the other day I checked and they were already past 200 or past 2 million at that point.
Hell yeah.
Just think about this:
now
a
I-
board game based on Bloodborne has made $2 million.
Yeah, no, I get that they've had 11
Think about how much
successful ones.
Bloodborne 2 would make.
right?
But like, I mean, you've done 11 successful Kickstarters for different games.
Yeah.
And if this is like the highest you ever reached, let's say the highest you ever got was like 500,000, and you've gotten 2 million now, you're crapping yourself a little.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're
They're-
like, oh fuck, what do we
and
do with
it's
this?
really
that's
cool because if
that's
you-
way more than what
If
we were
you
planning.
Yeah.
Look at their Kickstarter page; it's actually a whole lot of fun. So, like as you're going through and they're hitting all the goals, right? They have,
Yeah,
they
they're unlocking
have to-
new tiers of goals.
Yeah.
Right, they got to do that. So what they're doing for people is they're unlocking paths. So just like in Bloodborne, you can go like this path or this path, and so they're giving you the Chalice dungeons from Bloodborne, and that's how you pick what the next tier of stuff is.
Okay.
So you're like, I want to go down this tier, and so everybody votes on it, and they get 24 hours to vote on it, and then boom, that's the next path that you get. I was on the fence as to whether or not I was going to buy it. I found out that today when I checked the Kickstarter that the Blades of Mercy just got opened up as a figure. So I'm like, well, that's the weapon that I wanted. So that's what's going to cause me to back it. So and
honestly, backing some of these games for me is about the miniatures. Like I honestly don't give a shit
These
about half the
miniatures
board
are
game.
so cool
it's the
looking.
miniatures that look so cool. I'm like I just want to paint that.
I just want to just have these pewter miniatures. Like I'll never play the game. I just want to decorate my house with these.
Yeah, no, I
They're
love
so
painting
cool.
miniatures, and sometimes you just want to find some really badass looking miniatures to paint.
I hope you have a lot of gray paint.
Right. And what's really cool about this is that from what I understand, some of these expansions that you're going to be getting are going to be Kickstarter only. They're not going to be things that are going to be bought at like Dragon Slayer comic book shop.
Oh yeah, and as chat pointed out, there was a Trogdor game that came out earlier this year on Kickstarter.
didn't know that.
I have none of the information in front of me, aside from the fact I remember reading about it, and it met its goal, and so there's a Trogdor game somewhere out there.
That's awesome.
Thank you, chat, for reminding us about that.
Yeah, and so it's really cool. I'm definitely going to drop the $100 for it. I think
Hell
it's
yeah.
still got like 19 days or something before it's done.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely on board with that because I love Bloodborne. So let's move on from a little bit of Bloodborne talk over to Respawn Entertainment. Some actually pretty sad news.
Oh, okay.
In my opinion, this is some pretty sad news that we found out this week.
Okay.
Which was that basically Respawn has been not told that any movement on Titanfall 3 is going to be non-existent while they try to fix and provide updates for Apex Legends. Those of us kind of in the know that have been following Apex Legends, obviously it came out of the gate with a big boom and everybody
Huge
jumped
boom,
on the
yeah.
train and it was like, is this the Fortnite killer? You know? Now we're seeing
Yeah,
those
kinda.
numbers. Now we're seeing those numbers start to drop off a little bit,
yeah.
and it's got EA and Respawn a little edgy. And so they were asked like, "Hey, with the success of Apex, does that mean you're going to take that money, give us a Titanfall 3 because that's what everybody ultimately wants?"
Yeah.
And they're like,
No,
for the
no,
foreseeable
they're going to do the
future-
exact same thing that Fortnite's doing. They're going to take that money and make more
just
Fortnite,
spill
and
it-
that's all they're going to fucking do.
Spill it into Apex.
Well, and they've got to
Yeah,
Some
Apex
bad
Legends
idea.
will put Apex Legends and go, here's more loot boxes. Sorry, but that's all you're getting. We're going to hoard that money and never make anything fun for you
I
ever
think if
again.
they're smart, they won't do that.
I think that's what everybody who makes a multi-shooter fucking battle royale game does at
Sure,
this point.
yeah.
That's all you do.
That is
you,
what
you make
Epic
your
did.
you make your big load and you sit back and you collect it and you don't let anybody else fucking. You don't make anything good with it.
I think Respawn views it differently.
Respawn
and
definitely
I
does.
can't speak for them personally, but what I'm seeing them doing is trying to get all their resources together, continue to work on Apex Legends, get this battle pass out that they're trying to get for season 2 so they have a subscriber base at that
Mm-hmm.
point. We now have guaranteed money rolling into Apex Legends,
Right.
and then Respawn can say, okay, who wants to keep working on Apex and who wants to start doing prototyping Titanfall 3?
I feel like
I feel like that's the logical thing that they're trying
it
to
would
do.
be smart. I don't think a lot of people would volunteer to stay behind and keep Apex going. Not that
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, even just so far, it's a pretty beloved franchise.
Sure, okay, but they could also say, all right, you 10 people, you're the ones
Yeah.
now going to be overseeing this for a little bit.
Apex,
while-
honestly, like the whole time I'm playing it, being a huge Titanfall fan, just felt like a stepping stone to hopefully more Titanfall.
Right.
I don't
which I
know.
hope
I
it
just I
is.
honestly don't think we're ever getting another Titanfall game. I
I bet
really
you we'll get at least one, even if it's really cynical, even if it's really poorly made. I feel like we'll get at least one more Titanfall.
I don't think
it'll
I
either
mean,
be
if
great
so,
or it'll
we're not,
be a
it's not
flop.
going to be announced for 5 years. I'm just saying right now, it's not coming around anytime soon.
That's fair.
They're going to ride the hell out of this until battle royales are dead.
So like sometime next console generation. You think?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense at that point because new games will be coming out. People go back to traditional multiplayer because that's way easier to fucking make, and you can actually make a story around it. It's going to be, you're going to come out with the new generation of first-person shooters. That's what you need. Right now, honestly, the battle royales are a holdover that we're just bored because we need fucking better games and better graphics.
That's true. Honestly, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Battle Royale genre is one that was kind of born out of the generation that we're in right now. It's something quick and easy to pick up, it's easy to digest.
Yeah.
It's game leftovers. It's
it's-
literally the leftovers from a game. They just crammed more people into an island.
Right, but I mean, the concept of a Battle Royale game isn't new. I mean, we're talking about these games that, back in the day, it was a huge deal in, like, was it Battlefront originally? Had like 64 players?
Battlefront was like 32 versus 32.
All that was they made a Battlefront.
Fuck, Halo
and
had like
said,
16 versus 16 ages ago.
Battlefield 1942
Right.
was 64 players, and that was 1999,
Yeah.
2001. Yeah.
Yeah, and all they did was just flip a switch that said, like, no respawn.
Yeah,
That's literally all it is.
No respawn, no classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
They took the Counter-Strike formula and they popped it into Battlefield, and then that's what you
And
get.
it was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed it. And then it seems like games kept getting smaller and smaller, and then all of a sudden, leftovers had to happen because you're like, "Fuck, what do we do with this
And
game
I think,
engine?"
I honestly do believe there is merit in the battle royale genre. I don't want to poo-poo on it. I mean, obviously these games are popular for a reason.
Yeah.
As a game, they are fun. They are entertaining. As a piece of storytelling, they're really not that good at it.
They're not
for
about storytelling.
And
It's
for me,
terrible.
gaming is more about storytelling.
Right. And that's you, but not
So
for everybody
I
else.
don't really enjoy it because,
Right.
yeah, I like the idea of Fortnite because it's this ever-evolving world that literally changes all
It
the time.
has a weird story in it.
Yeah, that has a
somewhere.
weird story, and I'm interested in the weird story. I can give a zero fuck about shooting people in the face in it
I think
because
it
I'd
was-
rather pay attention to the weird ass story.
There was this really great game several years ago that just died called Brink, I want to say.
Yeah.
There
And
was
it
a
was
game called
very
that, yeah.
much a multiplayer shooter. Had a really interesting story. Had two factions and had some pretty interesting like traversal mechanics. Like there was a lot of parkour. There was a lot of mantling and jumping off of stuff and sliding, etc. And it was just two sides. It was very customizable, and it was just two sides fighting. It was a lot of fun, and it died horribly. But I feel like that game, that genre, is where we will end up after Battle Royale. Someone will find a way to make Battle Royale more personal to gamers, and that'll be the next phase we go through.
That'll be interesting.
I mean, you could do that right now by making it 50 versus 50 and making somewhat of a loose the clan system with the like, this is red team, this is blue team, this is the reason why they hate each other. Oh, look, there's
you
the
say
plot.
that, but there's a lot of games like that that have failed terribly.
I mean, yeah, no, these are games I don't want to play. They're also just bad games.
Chat says D&D style battle royale. Why would you pick a bard? Obviously, it's for the seduction, man. You just seduce all other 63 of your opponents and call it a day. That's what the bard does. That is what the bard does in D&D.
Some guy comes after me with a big axe. I'm playing him a love song, and then he's my bitch.
There you go. All right, so let's
Yeah,
jump
you can manipulate
over
them to join your side.
to a
That's-
little bit of comics.
Comics.
So last month, Detective Comics 1000 came out.
Yeah,
kind
it
of a
did.
big deal.
I mean, dude,
Kind
that's
of a big
that's
deal.
like 1,000 comics.
That's
I've
like
got
a
my
1,000.
copy.
There's 1,000 detectives.
That's a minimum 1,000 detectives.
So we knew it was going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, 1,000 issues of it. It was a love letter to Batman at that point.
Yeah.
How well did it do? We found out.
Did it
this
sell
week.
1,000?
No, it sold over 500,000 copies.
That's
Nice.
like that is more than 1,000.
To
Way
give
more.
you some perspective. The top-selling Marvel comic last month was Amazing Spider-Man number 17 with an estimated 78,000 copies sold.
Jesus.
That's a good average number for
How
Spider-Man,
many
right?
did the Action Comics 1000 sell?
I would have to go back and check.
Yeah,
those
I do
numbers.
not remember.
I did
Yeah.
not. I did not. pull
More
those
than
numbers.
I
1,000.
bet you it wasn't as many. I bet you Superman didn't do as well as Batman.
Your
I
top,
think so. I think
your
Batman
top
did better.
trade paperback for last month,
Mm-hmm.
Walking Dead number 31 with 11,000.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, at this point, that's how I'm going to get all my Walking Dead.
People
Eventually,
wait for
it's
the
just I'm just going to
trades.
get the fucking trades.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to keep up with the Walking Dead anymore. I stopped.
have, like,
I
three
stopped
giant
like 8
compendiums by now.
years ago. I don't need it. Like,
Yeah.
It's okay.
Obviously, Detective Comics 1000, like Chad is saying, isn't going to be worth anything, but it is really cool that it is. It's part of an era.
Well, for a lot of
Yeah.
people, it is just this is the 1,000th issue.
Yeah.
Even if
Well-
you very rarely collect comics,
It's
it's a moment in time you grab, right?
It's a moment in history. It's the same reason we watched Infinity War Friday night before we went to go see Endgame on Saturday. It's you're
Because we wanted to feel like getting punched in the balls before we get punched in the balls again.
right. You're participating in this moment in history for the sake of it's happening right now.
Yeah, we keep going back to this concept, actually. Hector, you and I talked about it last week over lunch, that, we talk about Game of Thrones and how Game
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
of Thrones is kind of in the public zeitgeist right now,
Mm-hmm.
and how it may be unable to replicate that going forward because
Yeah.
we as a society just do not watch things together the way that we used to.
We don't. There are a lot of good shows in the cultural zeitgeist, but after Breaking Bad and after Game of Thrones is over, I mean, we don't have anything. There are a lot of people who watch The Handmaid's Tale, but it's not.
No, you watched
it-
Handmaid's
it-
Tale, not
right.
a group watched The Handmaid's
It's
Tale.
not a water cooler conversation the way Game
Yeah.
of Thrones is. I mean,
Because it's a little bit too close to reality.
Yeah, and the same is true for a lot of shows. I mean, maybe for a week or two, a group of people will get together and talk about a Netflix show,
Right.
And be like, "Yeah, this was amazing. Yeah, this is some of the greatest TV ever." And it's happened a few
But we
times.
go to binge
But-
something else after.
Yeah, we go.
Yeah, no, I
binge
think it's
something
what
else.
Amazon's gonna be doing Wheel of Time, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that might be the next one, a
I
fantasy
feel
world.
like
that-
I feel like Wheel of Time is super niche.
Yeah,
I think
I hate to
do
break
too.
this to you.
I do too, but Game of Thrones was too.
Wheel
Sure,
of Time is
they
going to
know
be
it's
the
about-
ring
Game of
of
Thrones is
time.
actually more well known than Wheel of Time was more well known than Game of
Okay.
Thrones at the point of its creation.
You know what? I will concede that argument to
Sure.
Tony for this one.
But let's take all of the Wheel of Time book fans and put them against the Game of Thrones TV fans, and that's where the numbers fall out.
The great
Sure.
thing about that is whenever that show does come out, there will be no more Game of Thrones on TV,
I think the biggest zeitgeist
and
we
they're gonna have
right
to fucking
now,
scratch that itch.
Yeah.
the biggest thing we have right now after Game of Thrones, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be Stranger Things.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I watched that movie that I talked
And
about in
then-
the prelude,
and
because it was
then-
done by the producers of the Stranger
And
Things.
then we will see how The Witcher does.
Well, we'll see how The Witcher does.
That's the big important
I hope
one
it's
here.
zeitgeist worthy. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Persona.
I was gonna say Chad wants to talk to us about The Boys, and I'm like, oh god, I finally watched the trailer for The Boys. Oh god,
I did not do
read the
that.
fucking comics. First off, read the comics; they're amazing. Watching that trailer is like, yes, you are going to make the super like X-rated version of.
Oh wait, is that the
this.
one with the baby that shoots lasers?
that is in the trailer?
I watched
yes.
the trailer too. That was a great trailer. I can't wait to watch that show.
Yeah,
He's read the books. He's really into it.
Okay,
I read
think
the.
I sent you that trailer
I have,
last week.
I have
Yeah.
multiples of the first issue, like the
Oh,
first
I
printing
gotcha.
of it. Like I fucking love this comic,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm super looking forward to The Boys. It looks like the show is going to do as close as justice as they can.
I hope so. I sent it to my buddy Ross, and before watching the trailer, he said, "I don't know if that's going to be good. It'll never be as violent as the comic."
It looks
and then
as
I
violent as the
I
comic.
watched the trailer, and I was like, "That trailer was really fucking violent."
There's a little. All right, so the comic opens up with somebody getting splattered to death by a superhero going super fast, and just blood explosion everywhere. So
Right.
you gotta start there, and then the violence just increases. Either way, I'm looking forward to The Boys.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Persona real quick. For a long time, we've known that P5S was a trademarked thing by Atlas.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, obviously, what we're going to be getting here is a port of Persona 5 for the Nintendo Switch.
I would hope so.
We know that we got the Joker announcement for
Yeah.
Smash Brothers. He's
Yeah.
now out. And everybody was kind of like super excited because, you know, Persona, the latest games have been really relegated to Sony system, and that's where they've lived.
Yeah.
You know, so this week
I'm trying to figure out how to make a penis joke
they
out of the
finally
title.
said, you know, we're going to reveal to you the majesty and the magic of what P5S is.
Right.
And everybody
It
got.
just keeps like you're saying penis.
I
It
know.
really
and
does to
everybody
me.
gets on the edge of their seat for penis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone
Does that
just
make-
waiting for their
I-
10-15.
I had to throw that out there just to make like Tony's inner 5-year-old giggle for a second.
I
No, just
giggled
when you said
too.
P5 like S is like penis.
So
Again, I can't figure out the correct joke to make, but like
There
it's
is no
just
correct
There's no
joke.
correct joke.
Tony's
It's
trying to
like-
make a joke about the thing.
Yeah,
so-
it's a very large thing.
everybody was waiting to see if there was going to be some additional content for Persona 5. You know, what magic were they going to be bringing to the Switch? And we find out, no, that's actually not the case at all. This new Persona game coming to the Nintendo Switch is a Dynasty Warriors game.
What? Wait, what? How does? What does Dynasty Warriors have anything?
That's really gross.
So for those of you who are not watching live at home, Hector actually had to move away from the table. He was so offended by the statement that I just made.
I need to talk to you all for like 5 seconds before James continues about Jim Sterling. He's a YouTube personality. He's an enormous fan of the Dynasty Warrior games, or has been in the past. Yes, he's a chunk. Which he freely admits and constantly
He's
makes
a very large fan of many things.
constantly makes jokes about his incoming mortality. But anyway, so he's declared himself and proven himself a longtime and rabid fan of the Dynasty Warrior series. Loves those
They're
games.
really fun games.
And he said the last two that came out are not just a fucking joke, that they were a goddamn insult to the people who love those games. So if it's made by the same studio who made those, I'm sad.
You're worried about that. I can see that.
Dynasty
worried
Warriors on
about
the PS3 was a lot of fucking fun.
So, I mean, it is being developed with the Dynasty Warriors team, Koei Tecmo and Omega Force. So,
Excuse me.
all we know is it takes place in the Persona 5 universe, and that the couple of bit that we've seen of it, you know, definitely alludes to the fact that it's going to be a Dynasty Warriors game with all of the different shadows popping up and Joker
Right.
being surrounded. It's just such a strange I don't know. At first, I was weirded out about this, and then I wasn't because, like Brooke was putting out in chat, there was Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah,
right.
People did
and
enjoy
then
that.
there was. I never got to play these, but I always wanted to. I heard I always wanted to play the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games.
Right.
It's like I'm a Gundam fan. And I was like, Dynasty Warriors games are fun. I'm a guy that like will never say the Dynasty Warrior games are like some piece of art. But you know what? If I'm like laying in bed and I'm tired and I just want something fun to do, that's where the Dynasty Warriors
It's hack and
about
slash
fun.
without consequences.
Right. There's no overarching story that I got to worry
there
about.
is an overarching storyline. It's the story of fucking the battles of China.
It's literally
throughout
Chinese history.
It's Chinese history. It's super important. It teaches you shit while you play it.
Yeah, but you're not absorbing it. You're
No.
literally just
Maybe
like
that's the failure of the
Y,
game. They
X,
should
X,
add
Y.
more of the storytelling element. Maybe they should explain more of the Chinese
Maybe that's
history.
why they went into Persona, because Persona has a very deep and wonderful lore that you don't appreciate.
Maybe.
No, they have the word
don't-
persona, and that's literally the only thing in the game.
I don't know if you have any notes about Persona R in the news right there coming up.
I have it, but you go ahead and just dive into it.
So the
what
thing
is
is,
Persona
like,
R?
This is the thing you do want.
Persona R is the kind of like, it's hard to say, like Game of the Year or Greatest Hits edition of Persona 5. It's basically a re-release of Persona 5 coming out for the PlayStation 4.
Final Mix, basically.
Yes, it adds a ton of stuff. Basically, probably every DLC they wanted to add, every extra story they wanted to add before they could release the game is now in the game, and that's Persona R.
To make it like a
R-
logical,
Right.
like unique or collected story.
Right. And R stands for Royal, and that was going to be, that's what my friends who had a Switch were hoping they were going to get. They were hoping they were going to get Persona 5 the same way PlayStation 4 got it, but with like everything that was
It's like
brought to it
an
later.
all
added
in one. You
Right.
know?
And now they seem...
Give us the handsome collection of fucking
now they
Persona.
seem a little salty that instead they're getting Dynasty Warriors Persona.
As a person who's not a fan of really either one of these, I like Dynasty Warriors for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Persona is an annoying game series to me just because of hearing the word Persona way too much from the other
not a
room.
fan.
It's
Easy.
just it's just not for me. I get it, but if I saw something like Persona or P5 with like a little S next to it, I'm like, fuck yes, it's coming to the Switch.
Yeah.
And then to have this bait and switch thing going on, kind of fuck
It
you.
is definitely a bait and switch.
It does feel like a bait and switch.
Yeah. So fuck you. All right, just fuck you in the face. All right. Just-
Okay. So, this next subject that we're going to be talking about in our big news roundup for the week, I realize this doesn't apply to our adventurers out there listening to our show or watching us live on twitch.tv/thesurlynerd, because all of you are very respectful geeks, respectful nerds, people that would never do something like what I'm about to describe.
Okay.
So, Heroes in Crisis is a DC series that's been ongoing for some time. It is a issue number 8 just released. I've been following it as it's been getting released. It is about superheroes going to a camp where they kind of talk through their PTSD. It dives into this side.
We've talked about this a few times.
It dives into this concept of the superhero that they can't be super all the time. Sometimes they need a therapist or somebody. And this particular sanctuary, it's called Sanctuary, gets attacked. And I don't want to.
I'm remembering this now. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
so I'm
They
not.
really should have called it like super hell pit of like inevitable despair. Then no one would attack that. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go there. That sounds horrible.
I just love the idea of superhero rehab.
And so
That
I
sounds
don't
awesome.
want to get into the story itself because it is big spoilers for the issue that literally just came out last week that I picked up. But nerds out there, we need to have a conversation because the writer Tom King, who is a brilliant comic book writer, has been receiving death threats, like messages on Twitter, Facebook, everything, over the story beats in issue number 8 of Heroes in Crisis.
What is the reason these death-threatening nerds are citing for their...
A plot-related thing that they believe that fundamentally changes the,
Okay, all right, so
the
with-
dynamic of a character.
Without telling us who the character is,
Yep.
give us an archetype.
I don't think we need that. Like,
I need to know, like, basically they'd be like, well, Superman did the, like, I don't want to know that, but like, I need to know some context.
Give us
of
how you
this.
feel about the legitimacy of said complaint,
Yeah.
and
So-
whether or
Maybe that-
not
maybe
you
that would
think
work, yeah.
it's,
Let me break this down for
yeah.
you. This series is not done yet. And one of the things that's going on in this
Yeah, it
series...
feels like 3 to 6 months left, I think.
Right. And so what happens in the series is we find out a new piece of the puzzle every issue.
Sure.
And those pieces fundamentally change the things that we just read. Think of the Captain America Hail Hydra arc, right? Everybody's really angry
Right.
about that.
Yeah, everybody got
Until
super butthurt
he pops
and
up,
death
he's-
threats because Captain Captain America would never do that.
Right.
Right.
And so we find out later that it's not true, that like all these things happen, but we had not gotten to that point in the story. That's basically what's happening in Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah.
Like Wally West has shown up, some shit went down, and all of a sudden Tom King is getting death threats over a portrayal that he has written of a fictional character. Let me emphasize this.
We've talked about this multiple times. The difference between fan fiction and actual, comic book lore.
Right.
Getting paid to fucking do it. He's
Yeah.
getting paid, so shut the fuck up. This is what's happening.
Right, and this is not a minor instance.
And it's about Wally West?
Right, like what I'm talking about here, yes, it is.
It seems like a weird character to latch on to.
Yeah, you'd have to read the issue. It gets,
Yeah.
it gets
but
really
even
dark.
then,
Okay.
like, why would everybody? Why? I mean, are there that many diehard Wally West fans that modifying his character in any way is affecting you as a person
Right.
to give out death threats?
The reason-
did Wally West like kill everyone in the known universe and be like, "Well, I need help," and he's like, "Well, why did you do that?"
The reason that I want to bring this up is that this issue is bigger than Heroes in Crisis. This is something that has been going on in the nerd community for a while that needs to be shut the fuck down.
For sure.
Actually, Donny Cates, one of my favorite writers,
Yeah.
talk about him a lot on the show. He's been writing Venom for a while. And he talks and writes about Venom's relationship, the symbiote's relationship with Eddie Brock a certain way. And this way that he writes it doesn't align with people who are, quote unquote, shipping the two.
Right.
Right? People that don't think that they're in a relation, that the Venom symbiote and Eddie Brock are in a relationship. And there's a story arc that happened recently where he kind of defines what he believes the connection between a symbiote and the host is. And people got very angry because that didn't match their fan fiction and started sending him death threats.
Right.
This is becoming more and more commonplace because of things like Twitter, Facebook.
Well,
Basically,
it's the anonymity of the internet. The
Right,
anonymity of the
because
internet lets you to
the-
make a million accounts and,
and-
send out a
and
million death threats every
that's
day.
the problem that you're looking at here is that these artists and writers need these platforms to promote their art and reach a wider audience. But we also have this very small, I do believe it's a vocal minority part of the population who are obsessed with their fan fiction that are basically like constantly sending these people death threats if you don't change your fucking story. I'll
As I
fucking
pointed
stab.
out
I mean,
earlier,
this is
the
ridiculous.
difference between fan fiction and actual, storytelling is they're getting paid to do it. So
Yes.
since your fan fiction is not being paid, it's in your head and doesn't matter. It
I
equals
understand.
0. This is the actual story, so shut the fuck up.
Right.
I 100% agree with you. And again, I don't believe that anybody that listens to this show or watches this live would ever do something like this. But God, just think about this for a minute. That you are so fucking entitled to whatever your own headcanon is that you would write the writer of something and be like, I mean, this is basically the plot of Misery.
Yeah,
it's
and
literally the plot of Misery.
Like, they would write the author of a character who you enjoy and threaten to murder them.
Right.
That's you got to take about 5 to 10 off of her.
See, the
there,
thing
big
is, all right,
sugar.
so like back in the day, we used to write letters to the editor, to the
Sure.
to the people in charge of the comic books, and those would get printed sometimes.
And now we
and
tweet,
generally,
but still.
and generally, those letters were like good things. It might be like I would just let's a fake number, 1 out of every 1,000 is a death threat. Now, because of the access to the incredible ease of the internet, those death threats are way higher than the joy parts
Well,
are, because
now-
it's way easier to say "fuck you, eat a bag of cocks." Whenever back in the day, you'd have to write that down. "Fuck you, eat a bag of cocks." Where's a stamp? Where's a stamp? Fuck, I gotta go buy a stamp now. And that's a whole
the
fucking
difference,
journey.
right? Before, when you were sending your favorite author a letter, it was coming from your address in your hometown, in the state you lived in, all the way up to
now
Stan Lee. For
now
example.
it's
now
at XX 420 no scope 69 my
Yeah.
grandma XX.
But here's the thing,
Exactly.
guys, and this is just for whatever reason, if one of these people out there that write this fan fiction and send these death threats out is listening to our show, first off, don't.
Yeah, we don't. We would rather not have you as a fan, whoever
Right.
you are.
But if you are still listening, here's the deal. Going back to Donny Cates in my example,
Mm-hmm.
this dude as a kid, like used to draw, sculpt. There's some great pictures of like his sculptures.
Okay.
Like Venom, used to write fan fiction about Venom. Guess what? He worked hard. He got a job in the industry, and his fan fiction is now canon.
Yep, he gets to
Yeah.
write
So
for Venom now.
It's what we always say is the Joss Whedon thing. It's the
Yeah.
you're a giant fan of something, and then you work. Well, your family worked, and you just kind of also did that, and then you get the position to write the thing, and then you change the X-Men future for the entire history of everything. Like
Exactly.
that's what happens if you work your ass off. If you don't, you write annoying tweets and go.
And this
Angry.
isn't a new thing. Chad even pointed out that Sherlock Holmes had fucking,
Oh, yeah.
Sherlock Holmes actually has the most
Yeah,
at
the-
that
the
point in
author-
time the most fan fiction written about him in history.
No, Sir Conan Doyle got death threats every time he said that he wanted to end the series.
Right. I mean, that's insane. I know that this is a weird topic to talk about, but I needed to broach the subject. It made me really angry.
get good.
Because these people are these writers and artists pour so much of their time and effort and love into writing these comics. And for you to get so hostile because Cap said Hail Hydra it was the final panel of a comic. You know what you just did? You just did literally what the comic book writer was hoping you do, sans threatening him. You have now sparked a conversation
to get so angry and upset over something you do not understand the full story of yet.
I feel like I need to do a thing real quick and walk us back because we are not, the three of us are not comic book authors.
Right.
No.
We're not those people. And of course,
We're also
gonna-
not people who send out hate mail.
Of course, we're going to advocate for those people because we're fans of them and we love them. I think I need to take a minute and think about the people who are sending those death threats. And they are obviously people who love these comics so much that seeing them change in such a way, seeing them change in a way that is dramatic to them, that they feel is dramatic, that they feel like separates the identity of what they have, that they love, that they attach so hard to, in a direction that they don't like, to the point where they decide to threaten someone's life over it. They have zero leg to stand on, and they're wrong, period. But I feel like maybe the best thing to do in this situation would be to try and take care of them, hopefully, rather than tell them how fucking stupid they are and to get out. Because a lot of nerd culture in general is coming to a thing where you're not going to be told you're fucking stupid, get out. We all dealt with that. I mean, there's this whole trope of we were all nerds in high school and didn't play football. I certainly didn't play football, but I get where
played
that's
football
coming
like
from.
one season.
The identity that we carry comes with a lot of rejection in our youth. So maybe our olive branch to these people is
Helping
chill
them
out.
seek help.
It's chill out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if it's possible, if you don't need help, just kind of chill out and think about adapting with the times.
Take
maybe.
a Xanax and just not.
If you do need prescribed, if you do need help, if you do need prescriptions, if you do need help for whatever mental issue you're going through, I hope that you get that. I might even help you get that. But the answer is never the kind of hatred you're putting forward, and us as a community aren't going to put up with it.
Well said. Thank you very much, Hector.
Damn it, Hector, making us have
That was
feels and shit.
good.
We've had
Well
enough of that over the last
fucking
weekend.
done.
Thank you.
All right,
All right, fuck. Where do we go from there?
Let's make it
Hang
happy
on,
again.
let's high five and then go to the next topic.
All right, next topic. In news for this week. So the Eisner Awards is right around the corner. All the nominees are up right now.
Oh yeah.
So the big deal for the Eisner Awards this year is that a specific comic company has done something that no other comic company has ever done in the history of the Eisner Awards.
What's that?
And that is they have swept an entire category.
Oh, wow.
So
Ooh,
that's
that's,
never
some
happened.
Black Panther
Yeah.
shit.
Right.
Some Lord of the Rings shit.
Image Comics got the entire category of Best New Series. Every single
Holy
title,
shit.
every single title up for an Eisner Award
Throwing
for
that
Best
Image dick
New
down.
Series going to Image. So it doesn't matter who wins.
Yeah, Image wins.
Image wins.
At that point. How ridiculous is that? Because Image Comics even came out and quoted, they were very humble about it. They were like, we really appreciate, everybody who loves our titles. It's a real honor to be nominated for this many Eisner Awards.
Yeah. And did they put like a little in cap at the bottom that says, by the way, suck our dick, DC and Marvel?
Well, I mean, I guess that has to be the whole thing because even in the realm of the Oscars, this happens very rarely.
Yeah.
Maybe once every 10 years or so, we have a single movie sweep categories. And usually it's not a victory lap they're taking. Usually it's we didn't engineer this to be this way. This was an accident.
Yeah, I mean, even
and
having
we're-
one studio, let's say like
Yeah.
MGM or like Fox, make so many great films that they win all the categories.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fucking happen.
Right.
And having a comic book company show up and be like, here's all of our shit.
Yeah. So I hope Image is out there going like, we're just
Damn.
really happy you liked
Yeah.
it.
Because otherwise you're just gloating.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, like the only other thing on there that I saw show up as often is probably like Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah.
One is
Oh,
nominated.
I
for-
saw a bunch of the Chip
Well,
Zdarsky
Chip's
stuff.
just
but
fucking amazing.
He had such an incredible year last year, so
Right, and I
yeah.
mean, he's going to keep it going with Saga and Spider-Man.
I honestly
A Day
don't
in the
understand where the
Life,
fuck he
like-
finds the time to do any of these things.
and also tweet all the time.
Yeah, there's Stephen King levels of writing, but like
Yeah.
all day.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
So-
there's an age difference there.
But yeah, if you're looking for new, interesting, creative titles, obviously this is showing Image Comics is putting out these.
We've been saying it for years. Image is the place to go if you want fun, interesting, weird ass titles.
Yeah.
Pick up a number one. Can't even tell you what to pick up. Just pick up whatever it says number one on
Oh.
it and go from there.
I want to do a really small
And also just read
I want to
Saga.
do a really quick side tangent. For those of you who were listening to our show a couple weeks ago, and I was giving my review of this comic called Faithless.
Yeah.
And Tony, your opinion was kind of, well, it seems like a very James comic. So
Yeah, like you described it and I went, this sounds like something 18-year-old would fap to.
Right. So I then described it to you. Guess what? That series completely sold out, and they had to rush a second printing of it. It was so
Nice.
popular.
So there's a lot of edgelords out there.
Hey,
Just to let you know. So, with that in mind, let's keep this happy train kind of rolling through. We found out this week in the news that there is a game that's been out for a little while. You can pick it up on mobile devices called Sea Hero Quest. It seemed like a very simple
The letter
game.
C or like C like the ocean?
S-E-A, yes, ocean.
Okay.
Okay.
It seemed like a very simple game. You just kind of like navigate point to point. You do all these kind of minor tasks. This game actually was created to help detect early stages of Alzheimer's.
interesting.
And
Okay.
the game itself, in the very short amount of time that it's been out, has already contributed like thousands of hours of research that you would only get in a lab, essentially.
Kind of like the SETI project, where they
Yeah.
just took everyone's calculations. They were trying to use the software to crunch numbers that would have taken a single lab like years and years. They can do it with
Yeah,
the entire
before
internet.
because they couldn't afford a supercomputer,
Right.
so turn everybody's computer into a supercomputer.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it seems like-
Folding at home,
Folding at
exactly.
home, yes. I actually, my PlayStation 3, probably the reason my PlayStation 3, my original one died is because whenever I wasn't playing it, I always had folding at
I
home.
always had folding at home on too. It
That was the
great.
best thing about the PS3's cell architecture. It was shit for making games look good, but it was great for running folding.
It
at
was
home.
so good at folding at home.
Yeah.
Like that
And
was
so if you're not
the
familiar
best
with
thing that was that.
And if you're not familiar with folding at home, I mean, this was a project that basically just used your console when you weren't using it to help
Yeah.
contribute to like cancer research.
I think it was the Genome Project.
Yeah, the
wasn't
Genome
it?
Project,
Yeah, the Human Genome Project, which was going to take. Initially, they thought like 30 years, and it ended up taking less than I think 10 because of folding at home.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Is that with this particular game, Sea Hero Quest, they're able to run like these kind of very specific tests concerning like spatial navigation, because that's a big thing for detecting
Alzheimer's patients, right.
Alzheimer's patients. And so they were able to look at the patterns in the game itself and say, okay, these people, the average person takes these paths to navigate through something, but people who are prone to Alzheimer's or have it tend to go follow these specific patterns. And we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of what would be considered lab hours, boiled down to a very simple game you can play. on
Yeah,
your
because
phone.
you have a finite number of permutations, and if the average number of people who are of correct mental acuity reach those, then you get somebody who's has Alzheimer's and their mind doesn't work quite the same, and they take a different path. And you
Right.
can see that multiple times that these same people are taking
So,
the same
to give
path.
you an example-
super. That's actually fucking amazing.
Right,
So
so-
we can do this on our cell phone and crowdsource this shit.
4.3 million players, right, in this game. It's considered what they call the largest dementia study in history. From that 4.3 million players, they then took 27,000 players who were between the ages of 50 and 75, which is the biggest risk group for
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, right? And then from there, they were able to start paring things down and look for movement patterns, looking for who had more or less efficient paths to get through the game.
Yeah.
All of this is all in the guise of a simple video game that you can play for free on your phone to help be a next stepping stone to figuring out the solution.
Shit, getting
or-
50,000 people to all
Do anything.
do anything and to join a study, especially for free, is really fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And the
This
fact
is-
they can get this many millions of people to join up and all work without knowing it on a project like this it's awesome, and I hope we can do more things with this.
And that's the thing is that when people say like, oh well,
power of storytelling too.
You're not a kid anymore. Why are you still a gamer? Why do you still do these? Why do you still jump in and spend time with games the way that you did in your youth? Like, well, first off, it's because I guess it would be a kid again jumping into these games. But there's also stories like this. This game contributes to Alzheimer's research. There's things like GDQ and AGDQ, which are speed runs for charity for cancer.
Yeah.
All of these things make me proud to be a gamer, because not only is my hobby something that I am passionate about and that I love, but also sometimes with things like Folding at Home or things like this Alzheimer's research study, it goes towards a good cause, and that makes me so fucking proud. Every time there's an AGDQ and they say we've raised like 50, 100, or we raised like
it's at least $1 million
a
stream,
right?
So, yeah.
And it's like $1 million to go towards a charity to help fight cancer, like. That makes me proud to invest in the hobby the way that I do.
Very much so, because it's always run by people who their claim to be on stage is the core identity is like, I love video games, to the point where I want to create a new challenge in this game that was not designed for and didn't exist in it. Like that kind of love of games that drives that gathers enough people around it to be like, I want to watch this guy beat Super Mario Brothers 3 in 8 minutes. Holy fuck. That took me an entire summer one year. And then they watch, and then they donate, and then charity to prevent cancer gets $1 million over the course of a week.
Yeah.
Because people identify with that gamer who's like, I bet you I can beat Mario Brothers in 8 minutes. Like, the fuck you can. Let me see. And then they show you. That's really cool.
It's also just the power of, like, I love the organizations that do this. Like, things like anybody that does a 24-hour stream to just raise. We're going to do one eventually. I have it in our list of things.
Do a charity event.
I have it listed in our things. If you donate enough on like our Patreon shit, we're going to do one.
Just recently we had the guy H Bomber guy from YouTube do a just Donkey Kong 64 live stream trying to get the 102% completion, which is nearly impossible because it involves accessing parts of the game that were not programmed to be accessed.
Right.
And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shows up on his stream while he's doing it to talk to him about it, because the charity he's donating to is for trans rights. And an American politician at the height of her popularity chimes in to talk to this guy about his gaming and what he's doing. And it's just so cool.
And why.
Yeah.
That's amazing. For me, like I was going to say, is also it's the people who design the games that, because I love my puzzle games, the things that make you work your mind to figure out how spatial recognition or time or whatever, because it keeps your mind fresh. And the studies have proven, if you play these games, if you play puzzle games that are just purely meant to constantly make your brain figure out new and interesting ideas, you retain more information.
Keeps you young.
Your brain lives longer. And I've always loved those games, and I love the fact that there are people who want to make those types of games, but also make those types of games and then learn from them to how we can help other people overall.
All the way back to the first days of the DS, we had a game called Brain Age. I used to sell that game when I worked for GameStop. And it was just math problems and physical space problems that required you to take your DS and sometimes flip it on its side. But it was all still like a touch point with a stylus, and it just tried to keep your brain young, tried to keep you solving problems.
Yeah. And there's an interesting point that the chat's bringing up, and I want to dive into this too deep. This may be an entirely different topic for another end episode discussion. What about RPG story-driven games with like choices and branching story? I mean,
that
that's
almost sounds like a reference to Professor Layton.
Yeah, I mean,
because it was a puzzle game, but it also had like an overarching story, the same way that any of the Phoenix Wright games had when it came to like law. You know,
I know, and those all have their place. I just meant in general. Mine's more of an in general. I just love puzzle games. RPG. I mean, if there was more puzzle RPGs. Sure, I don't know that many of them. Let me know more, because I don't generally care for RPGs.
I feel like we're going down a road where we're going to mention like Super Puzzle Fighter once a show at this point.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
I keep coming back to
Super Puzzle Fighter is unlock Dan. Dan gives you red, and that's how you win.
So I keep
Or
coming back
lose.
to. I'm currently playing a puzzle game, and it's not a puzzle game, but it's called Hob, and it's mostly just a third-person like puzzle platformer. But there's not much skill in the platforming. It's not like I have to precision jump anywhere.
Right.
It's more like figure out how to solve the terrain to get further, and it's been a really interesting experience because there are elements where you're like fighting mobs and jumping onto things, and it's kind of tricking you into solving puzzles as you venture forward as an adventurer
I
with
love
a
that.
sword and a shield.
That's actually cool.
And like traverse terrain and fight monsters, but mostly I'm just solving movement puzzles.
That's
And it's
awesome.
really cool. It's called Hob.
Okay, so our last topic for the news portion of our show this week. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I know we've been running a little bit long in the news section this week because the headlines for this made me a little bit angry.
Uh-oh.
So Epic Games said this week, because they have the Epic Game Store, right?
Yeah, they
It's been
do.
getting a lot of exclusives lately, pulling them away from Steam. It's been all
Yep.
over the
Well,
headlines.
it's because
They're the reason it's going to
they're
take
actually
me...
the company with Epic and all that are actually releasing games, and they don't want to share. Which is,
Yeah.
they're a company; they can do that. They made the
Absolutely.
platform.
They're the
They
reason
can
it's
push
going
it
to
through
take
their
me
own.
6 extra months to play Borderlands 3.
So Epic came out this week and
Well,
said,
on
we've
PC.
been stealing all these exclusive games from Steam.
Nah.
But you know what? We can stop that. And their reasoning for
Yeah.
stopping this
Okay.
is, I'll just give you the
Aside
quote.
from public backlash,
Let me put on my Epic Games voice. If Steam committed to a permanent 88% revenue share for all developers and publishers without major strings attached, we would hastily organize a retreat from exclusives while honoring our partner commitments and consider putting our own games on Steam. Such a move would be a glorious event in the history of PC gaming and would have a sweeping impact on other platforms for generations to come.
okay, I heard you say all that, but I imagine it way more higher pitched and as the fucking robot from Borderlands. It was way more entertaining.
Two, and hopefully for the last time, quote Adam Sandler. Horse shit.
Right.
It's fucking nonsense. Okay, so what they're doing is called
Claptrap, that's his name.
grandstanding. His name is Claptrap.
Yes, I forgot Claptrap's name. I've been playing Borderlands too.
They're grandstanding. They are taking an unpopular move by them and framing it as we'll move when they move because they're shittier than us.
Right.
Which is basically a great way to distract for what you're doing. Ask any
Okay,
politician.
I gotta-
Ask our current most famous
I
one.
have a question about that because I've been applauding companies like Netflix when it came to the Apple App Store where they said, fuck you, we're backing the fuck out. I think Spotify's doing that. Multiple companies are leaving the Apple Store saying, no, they're taking our revenue. We're just going to put our app up there and say you have to go to our site to sign up.
Right.
And because Apple was taking too much money. There's no way to do that with Steam, but I'm applauding these companies saying, fuck you, we don't want to pay the Apple tax anymore. And a lot of these companies, while I might not agree with Epic Games, are saying we don't want to pay the Steam tax anymore.
Sure.
So
They're
we don't want to
okay.
be there. We're
Let's-
not going
what
to.
they're
I'm going
doing-
to establish a few things here that will put your point of view, which is valid, into perspective. Steam was never considered unreasonable before the Epic Games Store. When Steam was established and they asked for the share that they asked for, it was brand new in the industry,
Yeah.
and it wasn't any more than Kmart
We never
or
had any
Walmart
competition
or
before.
GameStop was asking for. They literally just said, here's our store, it's completely digital, but you'll pay the same thing you do to everyone else. So now Epic Store comes along and offers, I think it's less than half. And is like, you can pay us only this much. And if we feed some money into your project, maybe you only release on our platform. That's fine. That's their prerogative to do. It's capitalism. Great.
Yeah, that's
But
the entire point of it.
Now they've painted Steam as the ogre for wanting more money when they don't want more money. They wanted all the same money they've always wanted. And they've also decided to take this moment because their move for exclusivity became very unpopular to say, it's not us, it's them. Rather than be like, okay, look, we are obviously the better choice financially, but if y'all don't like exclusive, we won't do exclusives. And honestly, at this point, I would still go with Steam every time for the only single reason that the Epic Store cannot have my data. They don't have two-factor authentication. I will not feel
They're super not secure.
I will not feel safe putting payment information into their client until they do.
Yeah, no.
We can talk conspiracy theories and Tencent all day long. I'm uncomfortable with Epic Store as a whole. But until they are at least as secure as Facebook, I will not be putting
Like,
my
Facebook's
credit
super
card.
not secure.
Exactly. I will not be. But Facebook has two-factor authentication.
I was going to say, my cousin wants to sell me some Ray-Bans and would like me to join some whatever pyramid scheme.
But until they can protect my info while I log in with two-factor auth, I will not be putting payment information into them, and I will not be buying games from them.
This entire thing just feels like a giant blast towards Steam, who honestly, up until this point, hasn't really done anything wrong.
Steam
Oh,
has
they've
been-
done a lot of wrong, but not in this
Ste-
specific
Steam
case.
has been, and to their credit, completely silent on this issue since it started.
Yeah, and they absolutely should be, because what Epic Games is what Epic Games Store is doing is getting all of these new game companies to be exclusive to them.
Right.
And they're just going to throw shit at the wall and scream at the big boss, hoping that he'll react to something.
That's entirely what they're doing. It feels like, you know what Pepsi commercials are always about? Pepsi commercials
How
are
they're better than Coke.
How they're better than Coke.
They always mention Coke, and you know what Coke commercials are about?
Never Pepsi.
Never Pepsi.
Coke commercials don't mention Pepsi, and Steam is being quiet because they really don't need to acknowledge the Epic Store, because at this point they at least need to pretend that it's not a blip on their radar.
Right.
And while Epic keeps going, there's Coke. Coke sucks. We're Pepsi. Come here. Look at all the shit we're doing.
They're saying, like, oh, we've got Borderlands, we've got all these exclusives.
Right.
But really, Steam's not budging because there's no reason for Steam to budge at this
Right.
point.
I mean, Steam will. If Steam did the math and they were like, "Oh fuck, we lost Borderlands, but we're still getting 8 other exclusives this year from easily AAA companies that'll make us millions of dollars," why say anything?
Exactly.
And it feels like a very Gabe Newell move, also, to just like, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do at this point? Like, okay, they're getting a bunch of exclusives, but, and I hate to say this because the Steam store is a bit shit.
It is
but,
shit.
You know, for every 2 exclusives that you're getting on, you know, the Epic Game Store, there's like 500,000 games that are being uploaded.
I was gonna
daily
say,
to
let's
Steam.
not forget the Epic Game Store has like less than 100 games on it,
Right.
Compared to Steam, who got 100 games in the last hour.
I was going to say last second, probably.
Yeah.
Like, at least like 30% of those are hentai games, but you know what? They got uploaded, so.
Exactly.
It was really just all asset flips, honestly.
Just all asset
I know,
flips and hentai games.
Chat brought up that like Netflix is losing these shows, and that's for a different reason, though. I just want to bring up what Chat mentioned because it was a point that
What
I
was the
disag-
comment specifically?
I'd have to go back up here and scroll, but it was how Netflix is losing the shows.
Like the Disney shows? Is that what they're talking about?
All these shows leaving Netflix because they want more money to show their content, and that's incorrect. Netflix is losing these shows because they would be supporting another person's platform.
Right.
Because anything going forward would be going to Disney Plus, and why would Netflix be like, okay, we can buy the first 3 seasons of Luke Cage here,
Right.
but anything after that's going to be on Disney Plus. That would be promoting another person's platform.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that was an incorrect statement. I just
Right.
wanted it was
No,
in the chat, and I wanted
that's
to
fair.
bring it
Yeah.
up.
Anybody who's worried at all about Netflix's future, it just isn't looking at Netflix.
They did just cancel Santa Clarita Diet, which, while being one of the best shows
That was a
Netflix
really
has made in
fun
a
show.
while, I get it. Not enough people watched it.
Right.
It was just a few of us. We enjoyed the hell out of it.
The biggest
we just
move
didn't tweet enough.
that
I guess.
Netflix has made recently is saying that they're going to start announcing their viewership numbers. At the very
That is
least.
huge.
And I feel like that's probably a good move, even if it does seem a little desperate. I feel like someone inside Netflix was like, if they only knew 50 million people watched every episode of Blah, they would shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
everyone
Santa
wants to
Clarita was
talk
an
about
amazing show, but I know not enough people watched
But
it.
everyone wants to talk about, like, look
I
at
don't know
how
the
many
numbers on
people watch The Handmaid's Tale, or look at how many people watch Game of Thrones. These guys are obviously the biggest ones, and they're like, twice that many people watched, I don't know, Atypical.
Yeah.
Like, you guys just don't
That show
understand.
is so good.
You guys just don't understand what these numbers mean yet. We need to give you more context.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's everything we have for our news roundup for the week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our main topic for the show in the boss room.
Boss room. All right, I'm gonna pee real quick.
Yeah, I know. That was just one of the points that like Chat came up and was like, I kind of need to say that one's no. That's
Sure. Yeah, it's a really fascinating race that's going on right now, especially with Disney Plus right around the corner. They're talking about Disney trying to acquire Hulu.
It's not really acquire. They already own enough of the stock separately
Yeah.
between Fox and Disney and every other company that they now own to have controlling interest. And by having controlling interest, they can then go, we are now going to do what we want to. We're going to change it. We can literally just buy it out and make it part of the Disney brand
Right.
that Hulu will be. it's like once you control 51, who the fuck no one can argue with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's even looking at little things like where you're talking about like the Runaways, like
Battling
we
Disney with anime? No.
I don't know.
No, it's literally never going to work. Crunchyroll's going to try that. It's never going to work.
I mean, Crunchyroll's trying really hard to.
They are really trying, and I did not think online anime streaming would go near as far as it has, and it's done a great job. Like I think Funimation's the one that owns Crunchyroll.
Yes.
And I mean, shit, ADV's gone under. Funimation is mostly just Crunchyroll at this
I
point.
know. R.I.P. ADV.
Yeah, well, Funimation bought them out.
I know.
Which is weird how that worked in the history of the two companies. But
16-year-old me watching Evangelion VHS is
but
just missing
anime
that.
itself is its cost to profit margin is so low versus Disney's ability to create original content.
Yeah.
Original content will actually save you money by making that. If these companies were making original animes and not in Japanese and not going, well, we have to put it in Japan first and then bring
So
it to
you're talking
America.
about, like, RBYB or whatever.
Yeah,
it
the
is.
red versus blue cartoon, the anime. I just don't fucking know the name of it. It's the red versus blue anime. That one,
There was an anime?
yeah, RBY. It's the fucking
It's
color
called
spectrum.
Ruby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ruby. It's the
it's-
fucking color spectrum. Whatever. But that does very well because one, it's made well, it was made by one guy and then he killed himself. I hate to bring it down, but he totally did. I can't not make that a fact. But it was done basically by a very small team, done specifically for an English-speaking audience in a Japanese style. That will save you money. That is why
Castlevania's a very good
yeah,
point.
I was literally about to say Castlevania did so fucking well. Whenever you're
Castlevania
getting
was
these
great.
shows that are made in an anime style, but are specifically for a Western audience, sure, those do fucking great. But the idea that like, no, we have to make this thing, we have to make it in Japanese, and then we have to change it over and bring it over here. We have to Crunchyroll the shit. It's going to fucking fail because you're literally adding layers of cost on top of
Dear
shit.
Netflix, please recreate Bubblegum Crisis for me. My 16-year-old self is really begging for it.
I could go over some extra bubblegum crisis.
No, do we have zero bubblegum
No,
crisis?
it was amazing.
No, just no.
Crash was amazing. Like they were all fantastic. Even like the remake, the 2029 or whatever the fuck it was called, was
Yeah,
good.
I mean, you might as well be like, can we not just have Evangelion? We need
Yeah, and whenever you're
Evangelion.
saying and Netflix has over 20 anime shows from the last year alone, those
Yeah.
were made
And some of them are
specifically
very
for a
good.
Western audience, but they just said, fuck it, we're just going to put it in
That's true, good
Japanese
point.
with subtitles.
Netflix did make original anime.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no, they have been.
Baki was great,
But-
but Devilman Crybaby was fucking awesome.
I honestly,
Yes.
there is
It's the best anime I've
zero
seen since
way,
One Punch Man.
There is zero way that anime will take down Disney. Anime as a whole has been trying for a very long time, but they've
I
been a
don't
valiant
think- I don't-
fight.
I
But
don't
Disney's
think-
got, fuck you, we will
I don't
destroy
believe
you
that
money.
he-
Disney has literally financially kept Studio Ghibli out of the United States for the last 35 years because they don't want to compete with them.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's just because
To
you're
the point where they bought exclusive rights to distribute Ghibli movies in the United
Yeah.
States because they need to control when they come
And as
out.
soon as
because
those-
if they're too good and too close to one of their releases, they know they will lose.
Yeah, no, and as soon as both of those fuckers die that are in charge, that company will be bought by Disney. It's
Yeah,
hands
we'll-
down.
we'll
You can
see how that plays
you can
out.
guarantee it. They're gonna be like, yeah, Disney showed up with a bunch of money. We
maybe.
sold them.
I feel like Japan, and this is just because of the way that the Japanese tend to function as culturally. I feel like they might decide that Studio Ghibli is going to be like a
Studio
historical.
Ghibli won't exist if once the two of those die unless they
the,
sell out.
The studio will live on beyond Hayao Miyazaki, but the point is, I feel like Japan will hold on to Studio Ghibli the same way it does with so many other things, and by like making them now they're government funded, but it will try and keep the same philosophy of the studio going
Okay,
forward.
I could see that happening. I just imagine, Disney showing up with Disney's fuck you money and
Well,
saying,
that's,
we're doing this.
Okay,
and-
so right now,
Capitalism, but-
in your mind, like basically, we're all going to live in a like Shadowrun, like Blade Runner society, where basically Disney owns all.
We're all
of
going to
us.
live in Hotel Artemis, just trying to afford water.
How are you people not seeing this is what I'm saying. They own everything already.
And there is a huge movement for anime. I mean,
There is, and the anime community has gotten larger and has been more out there, and anime has become more socially acceptable. But it is not
look,
breaking
I'm
the
gonna
main.
I'm gonna
it's-
age myself a little bit, but by the numbers, I remember going to like an early ACON, and there being like a couple hundred people there. And I remember later in life, in my like mid 20s, going to ACON and literally being unable to buy tickets and get a hotel room. If that is indicative of what the the how big anime is becoming, that's just a minor.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's not forget anime only came to the mainstream zeitgeist of the United States in the late 90s when it started getting aired on Cartoon Network.
Well, it existed
before that.
It
You were
did
trying
exist
to
beforehand. We actually had access in the 80s.
but it was
Yeah,
the Euro-
but it wasn't. Okay, if you
It
lived
was
in
a Euro
Nebraska,
nerd.
you did not have access in the 80s.
You did on Saturday morning cartoons.
You were no. You did not know that was anime.
You didn't know it was
You didn't
anime,
know
but
it
it was your
anime.
first introduction
That doesn't
to
count.
it.
It doesn't count. I'm
It's
talking about your
it's
first trip.
It's like telling me that my first anime was Transformers. You know what? My
Right.
first anime was probably Ranma because that's what I acknowledged was an
My
anime.
first one was Sailor Moon. That doesn't
know?
count. When you went
Sailor
to
Moon totally counts.
it doesn't.
No,
when you
it
go to your
doesn't.
Hollywood Video
I
and you
watched
rent
Tech-
Ninja Scroll or fucking
Just throw Akira
Evangelion
on
I
there.
watched
or
Technoman.
Akira,
I watched
that's
Technoman
your
on
introduction to
UPN.
anime.
Right?
I completely disagree. My cousin has her degree in Japanese, went and taught fucking English there, and did everything because of Sailor Moon. She lived in a fucking small podunk town that didn't have anime, didn't have fucking access to Cartoon Network because her parents are super religious and weren't allowed to see that. She was allowed to see Sailor Moon because it aired on Saturday morning fucking cartoons.
Yeah,
that influenced her enough to understand what Japanese culture was, to get interested enough to go get her degree in it, to go live in Japan and now in England to work for fucking Sega making Sonic the Hedgehog games.
If you talk to a Japanese person,
What he said-
weird
if you-
journey.
If you talk to a Japanese person, and this is just my personal experience, and told them I learned everything I need to know about your culture from an English version of Sailor Moon I saw on Saturday morning cartoons, that's a lot.
See, you're
man.
saying everything I need to know. This is what I needed as an introduction to your culture, something that I would not have been exposed of in the middle of fucking nowhere in Arkansas.
Right? And
I'll just lose this fight. He's getting really defensive of his family at this point.
I'm not talking about how his family's wrong or anything like that.
He's gonna have a hoedown here in a minute.
I'm just
Don't let him do
saying
that.
that
That's a different thing.
there's a whole spectrum here where we yes, we're introduced to a culture and we fall in love with it and then we carry forward. This is not most people's experience, especially not when it comes to fandom.
Yeah.
If you watch Sailor Moon and suddenly you're a fan of all things Japanese and move there and learn the language, you're a specific type of person. If you watch Sailor Moon and then somehow end up super into anime, I don't know how you made that connection.
Right.
Because of the Saturday morning cartoon, because it was in English and it's not like the animation was super Japanese.
We literally, one of our friends loves Sailor Moon and Japanese animation, and it came out of watching that on Saturday.
Right.
Sabrina is literally one of our friends who has the
we're
exact
getting
argument
very
that she
side
loves
tangent
Japanese
about
shit
the-
because it started
I
with
feel
Sailor
like
Moon.
we're just
We-
sitting here talking about outliers.
We have an entire epilogue or boss room that we could do at some point about the importance of anime in
I'm gonna
the
go.
United
No, we're gonna go with the
States.
importance of Sailor Moon. The importance of Sailor Moon in the United States.
It's a whole other epilogue. Boss
It's a
room.
whole
that's
other
where-
boss
that's
room.
the fucking boss
We
room.
need to get,
Sailor
we
Moon.
need to get into our main
No, we're
topic.
fucking changing it now, bitch. We're doing it right now. Changing it up, doing it live. All right, no. As for the Shonen Jump thing, I'm like, that's cool, but I really like the Mortal Kombat DC fighting game first, so
The
don't care. The Shonen Jump game looks cool.
No, it's terrible.
Is it? It looked cool. The trailer looked cool.
We can ask Brooklyn as a fighting game. It's
Which one's
garbage.
better? Which one's better? Like the new Shonen Jump game or
Injustice.
Injustice?
Injustice by a mile, by a country mile.
There we go.
The Shonen game looks awful, and I heard over and over again that as a fighting game, it's rudimentary and silly, and even as
Dragon
a,
Ball
like,
Z game was really good. I heard.
Dragon Ball Z game was incredible. The mechanics were
Was it
rock
better
solid.
than Injustice?
Yes, in my opinion.
Was the storyline better than Injustice?
No, definitely not. Because the Injustice storyline was cool, and the Dragon Ball Z fighting game story was Dragon Ball Z story.
Oh,
It's
so
liter-
fight forever and have zero
it's
actual
literally
story.
just who's stronger, the game.
Okay, cool.
Let's do this.
Okay, running around with wands and schoolgirl outfits is not a fucking problem for me. Okay, I can do that any day of the week.
It's true. You could.
Yeah,
But if
I mean,
you
I'm an
ran
adult, I can
around-
literally do that. All right, let me click mute, and we're going into the boss room.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Boss room.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the boss room. This is our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. Today in our boss room, I'd like to take a little time to talk about one of the unsung heroes in the gaming industry, and that's the community manager. So this week's boss room...
Whipping boy of internet.
So this week's boss room is inspired by something that is going on in the gaming world right now, and that's the current state of the game Anthem. So recently,
Those poor guys.
one of Anthem's community manager went kind of radio silent when being pushed on what the roadmap for the game is going forward. It was for about a week. He was quiet, and when he finally broke his silence, he put on a live stream of the game where he, in his Twitch stream, all but ignored all of the questions that were being asked of him when people were asking about the roadmap for the game. So for those of you not in the know, Anthem isn't really going very well right now since its release.
Yeah,
Anthem is a game on the scale that you would find normally a Fallout game or even like a Call of Duty launch or an Assassin's Creed game. This was a big, hyped game.
It's a tentpole AAA game.
Tons of money behind it, all the advertising that implies, all of the production that implies, and all of
it's a live services game, meaning
Right.
it was supposed to be continuously updated with additional content all the time.
Yeah, you're talking about all of the betas, all of the early, everything that leads you to try and buy the game and wait for it on day one. The game launched, and everyone hated it.
So I want to talk about community managers as a whole because I do love and respect community managers.
Oh, yeah.
Even chat says poor community managers get treated so poorly.
Well, let's talk for just a second about the community managers for all of the Marvel subreddits on Reddit for the last week.
Well, we'll get into that in just a second because before we
As
do
far
that,
I don't know much about that.
hold
Those
on.
are not subreddits.
Before we do that,
Ooh.
the most important thing that we need to define going forward into this, for those not in the know, is what is a community manager? This is-
Someone paid by the company, they're on the company dime to go out and speak with the community, give the community information, whether it be through things like Reddit or Twitter or Facebook or their own public forums, to say, hey, this is us as a company. I'm the voice of the company to share things with you.
Well, here's-
Microsoft has Major Nelson. He's the public speaker. He's the community manager for Xbox.
You're one too high, because here's the thing: there are PR managers who are in charge of. Here's the thing: there are PR managers who are in charge of what the game looks like to the public, the face you put forward, etc., etc. A community manager works under a PR manager and says, "Hey, just so you know, there are 50,000 people on Reddit subscribed to a subreddit called Anthem the Game." And they look at the community manager and be like, "You're now the mod for that subreddit. Please try and make us look good."
Actually, they're not the mods for the subreddit. They're allowed to speak in that subreddit. The mods actually still control what the subreddit is.
That
Because
depends
it,
on
because
the
it-
subreddit.
specifically in the case for Anthem and games like Destiny, they were created by fans for fans,
Right.
and they were not created by the company. The company cannot control what is said in those locations. Unlike Bungie's forums, Bungie.net, you can go there and the community managers have sub people in charge.
Sure.
But it's meant to focus the community based on what the company says in their own platform.
Right.
And it's a public platform versus a private platform.
We're veering into semantics, and I don't want to
Yes,
do that.
I'm just saying there's two different versions
I
of
know.
the way you can
Tony
speak.
had to correct someone. We're moving on.
Right. So now community managers are a fairly new job in the world of gaming, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Up until when I think about community managers, I always think about Halo and Bungie's
Yeah,
forums.
for sure.
Right.
And that's a pretty good jumping
Deej.
off point.
It's fucking Deej. Deej has been with Bungie for a very long time now. He has been the voice of Bungie in their live streams. He's the one that has access to their Twitter account. He's the one that used to post on Reddit. He would post on the Bungie forums. That job has now been split off to he's still in charge of community manager, but these two sub-community managers that really handle all of the actual community managing, and he handles the making the corporate talk to the community part.
Okay, so now that we've established that community manager is kind of a fairly new job in the
It's
world
like in the
of
last
video
10
games.
years, really.
Yeah.
How important are community managers to a game studio, and why?
I can tell you they can make and break whether or not I'm going to buy a game, and I'll give you a great example. It's Anthem.
They were really good at the very beginning.
When Anthem was announced, there was their own forums and there was their subreddit, and the people making Anthem got into those subreddits and they got into their forums and they were like, we want to be really honest about the game we're making. We want to engage with the public.
They asked for community feedback
we want to listen to what you're
monthly.
saying.
They did AMAs all the time.
And then the game came out and it was fucking terrible. But all the way leading up to that, I felt like this is a game I should probably buy because these guys really are trying.
Yeah.
That was the power of their community manager. They made me buy a shitty game.
See that?
And I'm
that's-
saying And I'm saying I don't blame them for it because A, it's their job, and regardless of what I feel about the game, I felt like they cared whether or not the game was any good.
Prior to Anthem's release, I was on the subreddit at least 3 times a week, reading things that the community managers were talking about, reading the AMAs, and how involved in the community they were being.
Right.
And right before release, I noticed that it died off. And because the betas were coming out and they were getting feedback. And as a community manager, your job is to take that feedback, make it into an accessible Excel file,
Yeah.
and then give it to the people that you work with saying, this is why everybody's angry. Also, they've been screaming at me nonstop for literally constantly for weeks now.
Yeah.
It's actually happening right now. Maybe do something about these because I'm tired of them fucking screaming at me.
But most of the time, nothing will happen, and that's probably the burden of being a community
Yeah, no,
manager.
I don't think I could do one. We've all done public, or not public service jobs, fucking phone call jobs, customer service shit, where you had somebody that you're generally on the phone with yelling about something that you did not have any control of whatsoever.
You're talking to someone who's frustrated about something that you basically have no control of. Your whole entire job is basically to tell them the reality of their situation, what is really going on, to the extent that you're allowed to. I have nothing but admiration for these people. They're the same people who on Facebook have to look around for any really violent photos, and then once they see them, they can take them down.
Right.
That sounds like a horrifying, soul-destroying job. When I think about, and I mentioned this earlier, the people who were in charge of all of the Marvel communities over the last week, who literally scanned every post going up on those subforums for spoilers, took those spoilers in as human beings, regardless of them of their own wants and desires, to keep the rest of us from seeing them. They were filtering them out
at the
as
end.
they
They
came
literally
through.
know what happens in the movie. I honestly wish Marvel at that point had been like, "We're gonna let you see the movie first, and now you can get rid of all the
And
posts
to
of
be
anything
fair,
to do with
Yeah,
this."
in a perfect world, that would be amazing.
That would have been great.
I play a minimum of 3 Marvel games on my mobile games on my phone, and I'm also on all of those Reddits.
Yeah.
And all of those community managers were all the people that obsessively over the last
We
week
literally,
took down
during
all of
our
the
chat
posts.
tonight, had someone have an in-game spoiler.
Yeah, and spoilers are everywhere, and these people have literally been taking them to the chest for us.
Yeah.
That's a community manager, and that needs to be celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
I might quit a job if someone told me it involved endgame spoilers.
You know, I've got a bunch. I do have a bunch more questions about community managers and to kind of praise the position more. But there's a great question that just came out of chat, which was, would a gamer be a good community manager? Somebody that really enjoys playing games versus somebody that is good with PR in general? It's an excellent question, actually.
Okay, I'll go with specifically. This is something that I have more knowledge of. Destiny 2 and the Destiny 2 subreddit.
Drink.
There you go. You get a fucking drink because this is about actually a wonderful fucking person that was one of the people who started the Destiny 2 subreddit. He's gone on to then work for Bungie as a community manager role. He was under Deej, and now he writes he writes most of the This Week's at Bungie's.
Okay.
He still gets on the subreddit, even though he immediately said, "I'm no longer in charge of this." He gave over the mod rules. He's like, "I'm not a mod. I'll just show up and talk."
Yeah.
And he has done a fucking wonderful job of getting the other person, DMG04, I can remember his actual name,
Okay.
onto this subreddit and saying, "Hey, come talk to these people, share information, share love when you can, and
Yeah.
also feedback whenever you can as well." And coming directly from the community, as a player of that game, a fan of that universe, helped him. And then I had to go one step higher, which was Deej. He loved Halo. He loved the Bungie world for years and applied as the community manager. They were the first company to really come up with community manager roles. And he got the job because he fucking loved Bungie's games. And he's been working them for like 10-something years now. So
I knew that Tony was going to really shine when I picked the topic this week. So I'm like, he's going to be talking about.
He's going to know people by name. He's going to drop some Destiny 2 names on it.
Well, but the thing was is that, again, I've known Tony for over my half my life. I remember listening to him talk about the Bungie forums back when it was Halo.
Right.
Back when he was
When
just
it
a
was the
Halo.
Halo
when there was no
forums.
Reddit didn't exist. You had
Yeah.
Bungie.net and you signed up and if you had specific codes, you got really cool emblems.
I love the idea that people hung out on the Halo forums before Reddit existed.
They're still
Yeah.
there. They are still.
I'm sure there are
massively
still people
populated
on
place.
something awful. Like, yeah, a lot of those old communities still exist, but I mean, come on.
All right, so does every game company need a dedicated community
No,
manager?
hell no. It's super not like it's super not a thing that you need to have somebody dedicated.
Sometimes
to
you
it.
don't want them.
Because I watched a hour-long GDC talk because I enjoy those.
I still need to go into our account and watch some.
They're my
I've
TED
got like a
Talks.
pile.
yeah, I was gonna.
Like, I
so,
watched-
so here's
There was one that was talking about how to advertise your new game, and one of the things that this person was saying was always make a new Discord to put people in to advertise your new game so that the fans can come in and talk to you directly about it with a community manager.
no.
'Cause I feel
Here's
like-
why I disagree.
Yeah, go for it.
It depends entirely on the type of game you're making. You know what game doesn't need a fucking Discord and a person hired specifically to ease your worries about the game?
Super Puzzle Fighter.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, okay.
The new Kojima game. I would say the same thing for The Last of Us 2. The last thing we need is someone from the company telling us everything will be okay. Telling
Those are-
us, you know what? No,
You
we're
mentioned
gonna
two
make
basically AAA single
I
player
did.
stories.
Well, then not necessarily single player. Both have.
Well, we don't know.
Well,
Death
we don't know.
Stranding
We don't
is
know about
questionable.
Last of Us, but the first Last of Us came with a very good multiplayer
Okay.
suite, and Death Stranding has already been announced to have some very traditional multiplayer
not
components.
multiplayer?
Right. So
And chat, by the way, hentai games should always have multiplayer components.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, half the fun
I think
of hentai is sharing it
Hentai
with your
Games was
friends.
actually saying that Hentai Games need community managers.
They
So-
do need community
so-
because honestly,
oh, yeah, because-
somebody needs to rein in those weebs.
Yeah, what we need a community manager for a game about having sex with children for someone to say like, "Whoa, you went too far."
Hey now, that's not okay here.
So anyway, my point is that like, no, not all games need community managers, and it will help if they both love games and are good at PR. But mostly, if you're hiring a community manager for a game, it's because you need PR more than you need to love a video game. I'm thinking your Call of Duties and your big AAA tentpoles, and I just mentioned too that probably shouldn't really have community managers, because if there was a forum where people were flocking to like try and speculate about The Last of Us 2,
Yeah.
I would never go there.
Yeah,
I would
no, I don't wanna
never
go
talk
there.
to any of those people. I don't want to know, based on like the one frame of data in one of the stories, how they think they figured out the entire plot of the game. Get away from me. Not today, Satan.
Yeah,
Just no.
absolutely. I
Chavez
understand.
made a funny thing that made me have a weird idea. Hentai Battle Royale. I got a name for it. 10 Tickles of Doom.
Wow. Okay.
I'll take it.
So, not every game needs a dedicated community manager, which makes sense. So, it seems to be a fairly thankless job, all things
Oh,
considered.
for sure.
Oh no, you literally, like I said at the very beginning, it's like you are the whipping boy of the fucking internet.
I think the
Like,
worst part about this job is how challenging it is, and how we all know collectively when we like exchange glances around the room, that guy ain't getting paid shit. That lady, whoever she might be, ain't getting paid shit. She might
And
make
on smaller
40 grand
games,
a year.
you are the PR person and the community manager and probably 3 other things.
No. In an indie game studio, you're probably going to be a lot of things, and PR manager is one of them. In a AAA studio, their community manager is probably getting paid less than a teacher. And that is the grossest statement I can possibly make in the United States.
They're probably making more than the
Weirdly,
playtesters.
we actually
Yeah.
all worked at a company that was hiring somebody just to spend their time on Twitter all day and was going to be paid 3 times what all of us were making.
Well, that's a different thing.
Okay, so the question that
That
I
was the community
for
manager.
for the panel
That
though,
was
is
a
if-
social media manager.
with this being a
same thing.
with this being a thankless job, why would anybody ever want to be a community manager for a video game?
Probably for the same reason we all grew up thinking we wanted to make video games for a living. We all grew up thinking like, yeah, I'd love to code the next. I would love to code.
I would
Halo
love to
3.
play test video games. I want to see what the bugs are and
Yeah.
figure things out. No, you fucking don't.
Yeah, I'd love to play God of War 3, and literally my job.
So
is
are you
to-
telling me that if they offered you a job at Bungie right now, Tony, to be their community manager, not that you would ever get offered that job given your social skills, but
I have
theoretically-
wonderful social skills. I just have to make a hard rule that I'm allowed to say the word fuck. Like I'm totally allowed to say fucking fuck whenever the fuck I fucking want. After that, once the editor kicks in and goes, all right, just delete the word fuck, I come out as a very eloquent motherfucker.
I'm an excellent children's musical star. I just need to be able to say fuck whenever I want.
Exactly. No, For certain games, yes, you always like think I want to work on this game or for this game company.
Right.
But when you're getting into the game industry, you are not working on that game. You're not working on that title. You're not working for that company.
Right.
So you have to find a way to lower expectations. And during that, you kind of have to say, like, well, I guess this is a product that I'm not super in love with, but it's what I'm working on right now.
Right.
And that's when the screaming starts. And the
I think
screaming
it's-
doesn't end because you're a community manager.
See, I think it's worse than that. I feel like community managers not only have to lower expectations,
death threats.
but also limit exposure.
Right,
I
but-
feel like it's an almost fundamentally dishonest job
I-
because not only do you have a forum where everyone's like, okay, but can you do this in the game? And you're like, well,
you're
no.
never allowed to make a promise.
You can be like, well, no, that's not really our vision right now. We will not have X in the game. But also your job is to make sure that on the wider spot, on the Twitters, where like you have millions of followers rather than 100,000 in your forum, where you never say we will not have X in the game. It feels fundamentally dishonest. It seems like
Right, but
you love this thing and you love a game or you love a game company and now your job is to lie for them.
But to go back to the original question, all the things you're talking about is the negative. Why would anybody want to have the job as a community manager at that point? Because all you're selling me is the negatives.
If they have the job and they like it, it's either because they love the industry of community management, not video games. It's either that they love the possibility of them manipulating a fan base in such a way that makes them look upon your project favorably.
Honestly-
I can see that being a thing that would really
Why are we
drive
missing the
people.
obvious here, which is you love the company that you want to be a community
That's what I was
manager
going to
Well,
say.
that's what
I
I was
would
getting
love to
to.
be I would love to be a community
like-
manager for Bungie
No.
for a couple reasons. One, I want to be part of the company so I can see what's going on and I can play test shit and I can do things and I can give the feedback the community is giving to me because that's the core of the job, right?
Right.
But
No,
also,
that's-
there's this wonderful sadistic part of me that likes going, ha ha ha, you're never getting that and I'm not telling you that. I'm going to watch you squiggle in pain forever.
So and I haven't
That to me is really fun.
I haven't done a good job of making this very succinct. I'm kind of going around the bout to say what I'm trying to say is I feel like a lot of us wanted to make video games in our 20s because we thought that would be a dream job. That's what I like. I like games. I like these companies. I like the legacy of games they put out that I've been playing since I was 10 years old. I love that. Can't wait to be a part of it. And then when you're not 22 years old anymore, when you're into your 30s and you're like, oh, that job doesn't pay anything and it's actually kind of soul crushing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's the positives for this job that you're talking about all fade away the older you're getting. And to the point where, like, yeah, I would love to have worked for Activision when Call of Duty 2 came out. But now I feel like all they would do is drain my soul away.
So that actually leads me into my next question. And that is that as games become bigger and more connected, do we think the place of the community manager is only going to grow in importance and also dollar bills when you put it that way? Because right now where we are, they're kind of more optional, whereas maybe games down the road, it may be a little bit more vital to have community managers.
We will always need a PR consultant on a project worth more than $50 million, just period. With everyone needs to know about it. It has to be popular in order for it to be successful. Most AAA games these days are at that level. Right. So you're going to need someone. And the thing that me and Tony talked about earlier for the position that we were talking about at the last company we worked for together, was that there is such a thing as a community manager and there is such a thing as a PR manager. The reason their salaries differ so much is because one controls a forum of rabid fans and it's 100 to 300,000 people. One is in charge of anything bad ever getting said on Twitter to 3 to 5 million followers.
Right.
So these people obviously have very different frames of mind, have very different responsibilities, and a very different salary. So community manager is one thing, but I feel like we're going to move more and more towards PR consultants. And I think, honestly, that will be to our detriment. Because it's
See, if we go that way, I completely agree with you. If we go towards PR consultants, it's the downfall of community feedback in gaming.
It's the difference between someone talking to fans of the thing that's coming out and the difference between someone talking to everyone else.
There is one big elephant in the room that we're not talking about when we talk about community managers, and that community managers are the voice between the fans and the company.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Your role ultimately is to listen to the fans, digest that information, then present it to your game developer and say, these are the things that the fans are asking for. These are the ones that I think are logical. The rest of them are garbage.
Yep.
These are the things that we need to do to keep this community growing and
I
going
can point
strong.
out this week alone how that actually worked within Destiny 2.
All right.
We had there was a debate. We actually gave community feedback whenever this new spring event happened, and they're like, "Hey, orbs are crashing this stuff. Please, like, disconnect them because it's making this it's making this error occur." And like, okay, we have to turn that off.
Right.
And they let us know in the This Week at Bungie, like, "Hey, we turned this off because it was making things crash."
Right.
Because they listened to the community, and the community was like, "Hey, but by turning that off, you also made these achievements impossible to unlock. Can you fix that?" And the next week, they were like, "Yes, we're also lowering the score for this. Here's what we're doing to make it where you still have access to it. Here's how to do the thing that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
As long as you have the semblance of paying attention to the community's wants and needs." Like, I can literally go find the forum post where the community managers went on there and said, "Yeah, I'm giving that feedback to the right team. They understand this is an issue. We are working on a fix for hopefully next week." You never give hard timetables.
Yeah, no.
But even then, they constantly listen to fan feedback of what is over, especially in a live services game, something like Anthem, something like Destiny, even Diablo 3, something where you're constantly modifying the game to make it new and unique for basically playing the same content over again.
Diablo lived and died by his community management. I'm
Oh, for
sorry.
real?
Diablo 3 lived and died by that community management.
Yeah, if they didn't listen to their fans, I mean, Diablo 3 would still have rainbows in a money store for items.
Right. I mean, it's absolutely... So just saying that a community manager is just this guy who's a fan who works for the company is really underselling the importance of what a community manager
I mean,
does.
that's why
is,
you.
but-
That's
but-
generally why you get into it, but
yeah,
that's not what the job is.
And that's the worst part, in my estimation, is the community manager is so much more than that. But honestly, he's paid usually like a guy who's just a fan who's really privileged to work here.
It's you're getting paid less than minimum wage because you have the glory of working for our company.
We used to see that all the time with game masters in World of Warcraft in the first couple of years. These guys, like, I wanted to be one of those guys. It's like, think about how much game power you'd have. I'd get paid to play WoW.
They're still
and to,
here
look
in
at people's
Austin,
problems.
right up the road.
Yeah, and
That's where they all
those
live.
guys make no money and deal with non-stop bullshit.
Yeah, no, all of actually WoW's community service, I mean, the people that you message when shit's broken or you want to rant about something, they're all here in Austin, and I've met them. They're nice people.
very nice people.
I'm sure they're very nice
they
people.
just deal with an insane...
You'd have to be.
I love the fact that, like, they are allowed multiple monitors because, like, this is where I'm doing my job and this is where I'm playing a game so that my job doesn't make me want to kill everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're okay with that.
Good for them.
A couple quick questions so we can wrap this whole thing up. I know that we've been spending a lot of time praising community managers, but please, they were so undervalued.
They are undervalued, but also the job itself... whenever it comes down, I can't really bring out... Actually, Anthem's probably the best one. The community manager's job is to relay information from the developers and community to each other.
Yeah.
In the best succinct way possible without giving out hard dates, because that's just... that's part of the job.
Right.
Anthem is the one case of seeing a community manager being stifled by the company and then getting more backlash because they're being stifled by the company. The company says, we can't, you are not allowed to talk about these things. You're not allowed to do this. You're basically not allowed to do your job anymore. And the community getting angrier and angrier. And the only
target.
lightning rod that they have is this one person, because that's their feedback. It's either EA as a giant whole or one person. And you're obviously going to go after that one person because they are accessible.
Right.
A company isn't accessible. And I feel so bad for everybody who runs the Anthem community services at this point, because as much as I was looking forward to that game, I quickly realized it was not for me, that it was not a game that was in the correct space for me. And I said, fuck it, I'll just, from the outside look in. And looking in, I am watching 1,000 monkeys throwing up millions of piles and tons of shit at basically 3 people.
Okay, so can a game live and die by its community managers?
No.
No,
The community
no.
managers can only do so much. They can make you more into a game, but they can never make the game good.
I want
If the game's already
I want to
good,
point this
then
out
yes.
real quick because we've gone this entire oftentimes when I write these subjects for our boss rooms every week when we do the show, I always try to anticipate examples that you guys are going to bring up.
Sure.
And I feel like you haven't talked about Cyberpunk at all.
I have not talked about
I
it.
actually am not part of any Cyberpunk Reddits
So-
or forums.
You're
or
right.
anything at this
I might be
point.
taking that one for granted.
Hold on. With that in mind, I do have one big final question for the panel as we talk about community managers. Is as we are all nerds, we hang out on Reddit and forums all day. Do any of y'all have examples of really great community management?
Honestly, just Bungie throughout history at this point.
The Cyberpunk 2077, the game subreddit, is doing this thing where they will take a random factoid from the day the game that was announced. So we're up to like nearly 300 at this point. And they will take a random fact from the Cyberpunk 2025 board game. Just a fact about the world, a fact about the lore, something in there.
Like Dr. Blah does this whenever he cuts someone's optic nerve.
More like
it's like a random note thing, or
not something so niche. More like X faction is a faction in this group of gangs, and their relationship with the city is this, and their relationships with other gangs is this.
Oh, that's
and
actually
it's
way more helpful than
always
mine.
meant to introduce you to something that will be a factor in the game you're playing in however many years it comes out. And it's really fucking cool, and no one asked for it. And every day, because a new fact comes out every day, numbered literally from the day the game was announced all the way until the game comes out, there will be a fact a day from the subreddit about the game.
So you're making
that
me
will
feel
be
like
in
I'm
the
missing
game.
out now.
And it's cool, and it's the community managers doing it, not some like random like stranger with a mask on.
Yeah.
And as hype as we all know I am for this game, this makes it better. And it's subtle and it's interesting, and those people, the people who run that subforum,
it ties you to. It almost ties us together because I'm a person who loved the tabletop game.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're a person who's watching this as the video game, and this becomes the link for us.
It is. It really is.
You get to learn about the thing that I loved growing up and get to experience it the fresh eyes of a game that you're about to play. Like, that's cool.
It's super cool. And because this community cannot answer a lot of questions about the game in general, they recently said that the last demo you saw, the game is completely different now.
That was the only thing
FYI.
I've read recently about it, because I've specifically, in the case of Cyberpunk, been staying off any forum things because I personally want to go into that game basically as blind as I can.
Yeah.
I want to go in that game and be like, well, it's for sale in September, what
And
the
they're
fuck
making
ever,
it very
and
easy to
that's
do.
what I'm going to do.
They're making it easy to go
But
into
now
the game
that you
blind.
told me this, I'm like, okay, I'm missing out all these things. It will help me. It will affect my gameplay if I don't know these things. So now you're making me just have to do multiple run-throughs.
All right,
It's
so
gonna be
You're
fucking complicated.
if you didn't do multiple run-throughs, you played the game wrong.
So, yeah, we're both taking off work that day.
Yeah.
I'm taking
so
basically
that
the
week.
week. It's a week. All right,
when
honestly.
Vampire Bloodlines 2 comes out, I'm taking a minimum a week off.
Oh, I would be surprised if you
but-
did.
And especially when it has multiplayer.
So dedicated community managers, though, you're talking about for Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
they're doing something small, right? They don't have to give you these facts, but they do every day.
I take issue with you calling it small. I think it's subtle, and I think it's wonderful because of the limitations they have in talking to the community about what's going to be in and what isn't going to be in the game. Them doing this actually feels really big to me.
Yeah.
They're also able to say, we can't talk about that, and the community accepts
Yeah,
it.
no,
The
that's-
community completely
that is
accepts
something
it
that-
because we all went through this with The Witcher 3. They couldn't tell us anything about The Witcher 3, and the whole time we sat there going like, "But when does it come out?" Because we knew
Just
they
the release date,
they
that's all we
weren't gonna
need.
say shit.
No, so in the case for Destiny 2, specifically the subreddit, for Destiny the game, not Destiny 2 subreddit, that's a separate one.
Right.
The Destiny the game subreddit, the community managers get on there now. Before, back in Destiny 1 and at the beginning of Destiny 2, all we heard was, "We're listening." And it became a meme of itself that "we're listening." That's all they would respond with is "we're listening."
Right.
And they'd put that in their This Week at Bungie. They would put that on their forum posts. They would put that in their Reddit posts. And we all were like, fuck you, you're obviously not listening, because all we're doing is getting angrier. And by
Yeah.
saying the same thing over and over again, we're getting angrier. Now they're starting to go, like, hey, we're getting your feedback. We're going to give it to the right team. Can I just ask you what 3 options you would like an outcome for this to be?
Right.
And or like 2 options, or saying, hey, here's another option, maybe you think of this one. And they go, and people go like, yeah, and it spars a debate, and people start going, no, this is where we want the thing to go. And then they take that information and go, hey, team that does this, here's your fucking information. This is what they want. And they go, well, we can or can't do that based on numbers. And I just think that the community managers for the games that we love have been very good, and that's actually shows you the level of care that the companies themselves give about their game and their community. And it's the game as a whole, getting a community developer and getting the community involved. That's when it shows it cares. Whenever you're getting things like Call of Duty, AAA games made by giant corporations that don't give a fuck, you get nothing.
And I remember, like, in my example, like, and I don't play this game anymore because the game, it just didn't turn out as great as I was hoping for.
Fair.
But I jumped on the MechWarrior Online wagon. Before it came out, I backed it. You know, I was on their forums, and they had great community managers, and the entire thing was just this fun experience where the community managers were interacting with all of us fans of the MechWarrior series, and they were obviously the bridge between us and the developers. And like the Urban Mech was an ongoing joke in the community of like this, like, you know, 5-ton trash can mech that eventually made its way into the
That
game.
sounds fun.
Right? That made its way into the game because it was so stupid. But, you know, it was all part of working between the community managers and the community itself, and how vital that was to the success of the game. Because that game is still going on right now, even though I have stopped playing it for years.
Well,
their managers have like really kept everybody coming back time and time again, and that's one of the most important things that a community manager can do, is really keep the fans engaged and wanting to appreciate and be involved in content.
Yeah, and I want to mention a company that I have very little experience with, but someone in the chat mentioned Warframe.
Yeah.
And while I dropped off Warframe a long time ago, from what I understand, their community management, their just fan engagement in general is better than any other live service game out there, period. They're constantly adding huge unexpected updates to their game, and they do it with their fans in mind and with what their fans want. And as much as I don't play the game right now, I wish the game held my attention more, because I would love to be part of a community that's solid.
That is an excellent example coming from chat right now, is that EVE Online is a perfect example of fantastic community managers. Because that game has been out for like a bazillion years.
Yeah, and not only that, but like every time we hear about EVE Online now, it's because some wicked corporate shit went down where like someone IRL lost $1 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a game that like I don't
even
think
know
about, because I actively just my mind goes, I don't like that game.
Right, like
And
I
yet
feel
here
like
we are hoping for Star
still
Citizen.
talking about it.
every time I
Star
think
Citizen's
about
never
that
happened.
game, I'm just like, it feels like it would be like me trying to enter the stock market in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about every time I think about playing EVE Online. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to be murdered by Leonardo DiCaprio today.
Except Russian.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been talking a lot about community management. I know that it seems like a very daunting kind of job position, but really we have nothing but love in our hearts for this job, because not only are they the face of a lot of companies, but they also take the most shit.
Thankless and underpaid.
I have a question for us. One more before we go.
Okay.
If you can think of a game that's coming out that's not Cyberpunk, that you would want to be the community manager for,
There are no
that's
games
not the
coming
next
out
Witcher
that aren't
game.
Cyberpunk.
What would you like? I already have mine in mind. Like
Okay.
I know exactly what game coming out that I would love to start being a community manager for right now. So
I already have my answer.
you already have your. It can't be Cyberpunk
No, I know. You said that.
or Witcher
I know. I know.
or anything CD Projekt Red is doing.
I know. Fine,
Okay.
fine.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start with mine. I'm gonna go with it's the next Psychonauts game.
Yeah.
I would love to be the
Good
community
choice.
manager for Psychonauts. I love that game franchise. It's something I'm passionate about. The lore's interesting.
I feel like the game is
gameplay's
being
fun.
the second one is being underrepresented for how soon it's going
It
to come
needs.
out.
It's coming out pretty soon, and it needs to have somebody who's like, "Hey, dude, we get to have psychic powers and run around and bounce on shit, and it's go through people's dreams. It's
All
gonna
I
be
need
fun."
is someone to just show up on the internet and be like, "Dude, remember Psychonauts?
Yeah,
They're part 2."
that would be
Like, that's all I
want that-
need.
Like, hey guys,
right,
that's
Hector, what's yours?
Double Fine.
Mine is because very recently it was confirmed that the second Horizon Zero Dawn is coming out.
Okay.
And I feel
Nice.
like as a fan of the original, if someone like sat me down and showed me what they really want the next game to be, I feel like I could really sell the shit out of that to some internet people.
Nice. I think for me, it's a fairly obvious answer. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like that one, you put me as a community manager, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Well,
If I
think about
had
who you
more
have-
care for the
I'm on it.
original
And
game,
the-
I would agree. But like,
And that's
I
the
just
thing.
love the vampire universe.
Think about how effective you can be, because no one is looking at that news who wasn't a fan of the first one. So the type of people you can speak to are the exact type of people you are. It's like, here's why this game was great. Here's what we're doing in the next game to make it even better.
You know what? You know, the
I
one
love
thing
that.
I would do in that job as a community manager is I would I would work with the teams to speak Malkavian and send out tweets that wouldn't be understood until they broke the code once the game was released, for them to get, like, I don't know, a fucking loot box or some shit.
That's fair.
And just watch them be like, hey, you actually spent the time to figure out the thing that I did 6 months ago, because that's fun.
Hey, God of War did that. When God of War came out, the collector's edition came with a cloth map, and there was runic writing all along the cloth map. And when you got in game and saw what the runes translated to, and then translated the text around that map, it gave you an Easter egg in the game that gave you a special item.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
That's
the kind of shit
cool
that I would
as
love
shit.
to be a community manager, to work with the people, to be like, hey, let's do something fun to get the community involved in
Right.
this crazy, weird idea of playing an 8-year-old who has psychic powers, you know, trying to go into people's dreams.
Right, and-
let's have some fun with this shit.
And within like 2 weeks of the game coming out, the solution was on YouTube. But before
Yeah.
that, some guy got his collector's edition, got his map, saw the writing, translated it with the video game, and then stood there thinking he was an idiot, doing what the text told him to.
Yeah.
Until suddenly, out of nowhere, he got a special item.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things I love. I just hate the fact it was hidden behind a collector's edition. But no, then a few months ago in Destiny 2, they hid a quest
Right.
steps entirely in the lore, and required, they actually, well, once it was discovered and figured out, they actually changed the in-game text to saying, thanks to basically fucking Reddit's raid secrets.
Yeah.
It's like the keeper of secrets of raids. And to acknowledge the fact that it took people hundreds and thousands of man hours to figure out this giant puzzle that they threw in there.
Yeah.
And watching the community managers and everybody in the offices go, well, we did a thing. Let's see if they can figure it out. And then, like, waiting in the back going like, oh my God, they're going to figure it out. Are they going to figure it out? Are they going to figure it out? And then it does, and it's amazing.
And I think that might be the best part of community managers' jobs. I mean, if we all think all the way back to like the ARG they did for Halo 3, the augmented reality
I'm
game,
covered in bees.
for anyone
I love
who
bees.
doesn't know.
Yeah, I love bees.
Who that culminated in, and this wasn't even the end, it wasn't even a culmination, but at one point in it, there were phone calls that were going to go out to payphones around the country, and they were all answered. Every single one of them. And we're talking about across the whole country. One of them was answered in Florida during a hurricane.
Yeah.
All of those phones were answered. That is like
hidden
if,
in-game shit
if you can talk about
or
the
real
pinnacle
world
of
shit
like,
is amazing.
right. If you talk about
Bungie's been doing it for a long time now. They had these amazing javelins made in real life and hidden all over the world. Game of Thrones did it with hiding thrones all over the fucking world.
Yeah.
Like,
so the
this is
idea
some
of
cool
community
shit.
management, when they can really show off like what they're doing, even if it all is fundamentally advertising, just something to really kick off the fans like nerd joy, like that was probably the best part of being a community manager.
All right, so let's wrap this whole thing up. I know
But there's
we've been-
so much bad.
We've spent
Yeah.
so much time talking
so
about
much
community
bad.
management. So our final question for the panel obviously is final thoughts on being a community manager when it comes to the world of video games. Hector, why don't we start with you?
I appreciate everything you do.
Is that what you appreciate about
That
him?
is what I appreciate about you. I'm glad that I'm not you, the same way I'm glad that I don't hunt for white supremacist content on Facebook for a living. I feel like I might die. So you loving a product or a company or even just a single vision enough to put yourself in the line of fire that way, if you're the Marvel person keeping me from Endgame spoilers,
Yeah.
or if you're the guy on Death Stranding who really wants to talk about the game and can't, whatever is going on, what you're doing is you're probably just doing it to get by, but I think it's pretty noble work and I appreciate it.
Yeah. What about you, Tony? Final thoughts about community managers?
I would say they're the unsung heroes of the video game world, but we all know that everybody who makes video games is the unsung hero.
Everyone
of the video
who's
game world.
not getting CEO level bonuses is an unsung hero of
Yeah,
video
no, the
game
community manager position, or just the community representative, even people who do this for free on forums and Reddit just to
And there
help
are people
support
who
the
do this
games
for
that they
free.
do that they love. It just shows you the strength of the video game community and the fact that the gaming community can then affect the way games work by giving this feedback and having somebody as a lightning rod to connect with, and whether that be good or bad, generally it's bad. it's amazing that we can now get to this point. When you think about where we came from, the early NES, the Genesis era, where you made a game and you're like, well, hope somebody fucking likes that, and then you're off to the next one.
Yeah.
Community managers didn't exist. The community existed, but it was friends telling friends of things. We are now so interconnected that we have this ability to join together and give relatively instant feedback of what works and what doesn't work and what you're looking forward to and what makes your dreams explode and which makes your nightmares fucking full of terror. That's amazing to me. And yes, I honestly, there's a few games I would love to be a community manager for but those are games.
Right.
It's not necessarily I want to be a community manager.
Right.
Because I don't love all games. No one loves all games. And if you love
No
all
one
games,
loves
you're
all
probably
games.
actually a community manager.
No, if you love all games, you probably just haven't heard of several games.
I think from my side of things, we've already said a lot of the points that we've talked about. It. They really are the unsung heroes of the game industry. Oftentimes, these community managers really do love the product. Like, I have no doubt that the community manager for Anthem actually genuinely loves that game.
There's actually like 3 of them.
Yeah, but he just hates the position that he was put in because he's not allowed to say anything.
Right.
Yeah, no,
So-
he's getting bent over backwards in the back of a fucking Volkswagen Beetle. And yes, I'm going to use my fucking, my one time.
That was so
using-
specific.
That was very specific because I'm using my Mallrats quote.
All right. That's
There we
fair.
go. I very rarely bring up him.
You.
But I think it's kind of kind of apropos.
But I
it's
mean,
not
It
comfortable.
is, but listening to you make a Kevin Smith quote is,
So I feel
it
like
tickles me.
when I tackled the earlier question, can a game live or die by its community manager?
Mm-hmm.
I think the answer is no. But what it can do is take a good game and make it really great because the game will evolve from the feedback from us as the players that's fed through the community manager and is given to the developer.
I think the
As long
best-
as the developer's willing to listen.
The best way to put that is, a community manager cannot make or break whether or not a game is great, but a community manager can make a game great before it comes out.
Absolutely.
I mean, shit, it worked with Anthem, and that game's not great.
It's worked with a lot of games I've played. It worked with Red Dead Redemption. It worked with The Witcher 3. It worked with a lot of fucking games.
It's working with
but
Cyberpunk.
It's working with Cyberpunk.
It's
right
actively
now.
working with Cyberpunk.
All right, that is everything that we have for the show this week. This is episode 307. This was our love letter to community managers.
And all that they do, oh my god, we have you do a job that is so needed, but also so painful that I wish I could take some of the burden.
I wish
and
I could just hug
take it
you.
away.
Just
Yeah,
hug
yeah,
all of
There,
you.
there should be like the way that we were talking earlier
Hug a
about
community
like,
manager day.
Right, the thing
Yes.
we were talking about earlier with like superhero rehab. We need community manager rehab. We're just people who love video games.
We're gonna make a
just hug
community
them
manager con,
and give
it's
them
just-
beer until they're fine, and then they can go home.
And that's everything we have for the show this week. We appreciate everybody who tunes in every week for us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, things you want to say to us, Tony, where can they find us?
First, I'm going to say patreon.com/thesillynerd. Go there and join up. We'll be adding more content soon because I said we have to.
Yeah.
We'll be on the Twitters at The Surly Nerd. Info at thesillynerd.com is our email address. Surlynerd.com is our website. Twitter is... I already said that one.
Yep.
There's a donate button on our website. There's a donate button on twitch.tv/thesillynerd. Live Mondays, about 7:30 Central.
Unless I'm late.
I'm done now. I think
We're-
I said them all really
We're also
fast.
on Spotify.
Oh yeah, give us your rating and review if you'd like to
Spotify, iTunes,
on
all those
Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to us. Give us a big old honking fucking.
Thing that we deserve.
Yeah.
We're not promoting people, just giving us a thumbs up or a rating.
No,
or
yeah.
positive
No.
rating.
If you like it, click the thumbs
I
up
would
button.
like you to give us in the
Nice.
comment section. Like 12 eggplant emojis, if you would. That would be great.
That would obviously be huge for our popularity.
All right, that is everything we have for this week. Until next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony.
And I'm Hector.
Until next week, adventurers, good night.
And good game. I need to find a button that says stop, so I can just press that. 'Cause finding the mouse at the
Yes.
end, I'm like, where the fuck did the last
Yes.
place the mouse go?
They'll hang around for a minute and,
Yeah.
and talk for a second. I have to go to the bathroom.
You
I
do
don't
your
have
thing.
I don't have a Taylor Swift. I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan, actually.
I feel like you now should just listen to all of her albums, put a playlist together, and then share it with our fan.
I have. I like Pink. She has a new album coming out. Some of the tracks are pretty good. That's just because I've loved Pink for years.
That's fair.
She's always been kind to me.
Yeah.
She always tells some nice emotional stories and also some like I'm gonna fuck you up in the face stories.
Yeah.
So I can identify with those.
I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but I do like Ariana Grande. Do you want to?
I don't even know. I
that?
did. I actually thought that was just a person that existed like on Twitter and it wasn't a real person.
That's how I feel about most of the TV shows Aaron watches, and that's not even a diss. Like I love
She's,
Aaron to
I think,
death,
in my bathroom right now.
but still, like
Yeah,
every
since we're in
time she
break
mentions
period.
to me like the midget wives of Dallas or
You can't say. You can't say. Midget.
I know you're not supposed to say that's my bad.
Little-
the dwarf wives.
You're not
of
supposed to say
Dallas.
dwarf. It's
But
little person.
Some of them are dwarves.
It's little person. Dwarfism is a specific medical
Oh,
condition.
so we do little person.
It's little person.
Little person covers everyone.
Yeah, which
Okay,
I still feel is
then I'm
kind
good.
I don't think I'm the right person to say this, but I
Yeah.
feel little person is still derogatory.
Yeah,
but
no, well, I mean,
I walked away for 5 seconds. You guys are already being offensive? Christ.
we were talking about Tony putting together. A
I'm
Taylor
not big on
Swift
anime.
playlist.
Like I'm sorry, like I'm super not big on anime.
I'm huge on anime. What do you need to talk about?
Like I don't really do anime. Like I like my cartoons from time
there's
to
a lot
time.
of there's a lot of really good anime you're missing.
There is. I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm just sorry. Like I got into One Punch Man and I still haven't finished it.
One
I was
Punch
like
Man
One
is
Punch Man was
phenomenal.
fucking amazing, and I was like, cool. I don't give a fuck. Like I just can't be bothered with
You
it.
should definitely check out Devilman Crybaby. It is insane. In the same way that like Love, Death, and Robots is insane.
What's
Like,
my experience with Evangelion? Aside from knowing the people who did the voices for Evangelion, I
Zero.
don't like it. It's
It-
super pretentious.
Me and James are the Evangelion fans. I don't think Tony is.
No,
into
Evangelion would be
it.
fine
We're
if it
really
wasn't
familiar
fucking turned into fucking Happy Fun Jesus Hour halfway through. I need to feed my dog
It's
real quick.
so non-Christian. It's funny, but yeah, no, we're good.
Except for the point where it turns into fucking Jesus Hour. Like,
What did
I
they-
must save all the people. I am the true savior. That's what I mean by super fun happy Jesus Hour.
That's fair.
All right, the dog is like dying of hunger. It's 9:00, and she gets very sassy if she does not get fed at 9:00, and we are well past 9:00.
Sassy dog.
Yeah, no sassy dog. We're not talking about the Iron Horse stories, and James isn't outside, so he can't talk about anything.
What's the Iron Horse series?
Yeah, it's a woman fucking a horse. We're not talking about that.
I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, no, we're just not doing that.
The last showed me Mr. Hands when I was in high school, and I'm pretty much done with
I
that
don't-
chapter of my life.
Yeah, no, we grew up, and now we're done. Now we just go to like our weird porn, but like
Look,
it's personalized weird
Well,
porn.
and that's the thing about porn these days is if I really wanted
There's
to
access
watch,
to so much
if I really wanted to watch a human fuck a horse, I could.
Yeah.
I just don't
in certain
do that.
states and countries.
I just don't do that because I mean it's the Penn Jillette argument for like if you're not religious, then why don't you just murder and rape everyone you see? Well, I have murdered and raped everyone I've ever wanted to, which is 0 people, because I'm not a monster.
Okay, 6 is a little bit too young to watch Evangelion.
Well,
Well, first off, the existentialism is going to go way the fuck over
well,
your
that's the
head.
problem. 6 is too young to watch The Wire because they're not going to get it.
Yeah, you're just not going to understand the depth of that story.
Yeah.
For me, like,
You're not going to understand anything anyone is saying.
like this is here. Your brain is like way down here right now. You're understanding that like fruits and vegetables are 2 different things.
Yeah.
This is about the nature of mankind.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Evangelion is just pretentious, because I was already 16 when I watched it. I was like, oh, cool, I get it. And it just
But you didn't though, and that's the problem with Evangelion.
and I just can't go back now. I can't go back and be like, I need to readdress my initial thoughts on this thing that I can't give a fuck about anymore.
Right, and that's fine. And there's just so much about that show that is so far beyond anyone watching it until the point where you really get what is trying to be said and you realize that the author really just had a lot of issues with women in his life.
Yeah, that seems.
I mean,
yeah.
and yeah, and there's yeah, and it really is a difference between like wisdom and knowledge. Like when you as a teenager,
Your mom must really hate Supernatural, because
no.
there's just nothing but angels trying to destroy humanity in that.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I love Supernatural. I think it's a wonderful show.
Well, that's the same reaction the mom has when she walks in and sees her kid playing like Grand Theft Auto Vice City and sees you literally murdering a cop with a baseball
that's when you
bat.
explain basic economics. You're like, if I fuck her, I get healed, and then I kill her, I get money, and I don't lose anything. So this is just basic economics. I win.
I'm just digital Dick Cheney at this point.
Yeah.
We're not a political podcast.
Not a political podcast.
But seriously, yeah, no, I get that.
See, this is the after hour show that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That we need to be recording.
Yeah,
so we can put this up.
My mom never she walked in on me watching anime a few times, and she was always confused. I literally tried to make her watch it with me one time, and it was watching the OVA for Trigun. Because
that's not even hard to get behind.
No, that's the thing. There was going to be very little, anything overtly sexual, only cartoon level violence, and a pretty decent story that was easy to follow.
Yeah.
And she didn't
Hell,
make it.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, but she didn't make it because it was just not interesting to her.
Yeah, no, my parents had zero interest in anime.
Yeah.
They roughly know that it's a thing that exists. And I know that exists. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like it's not for me. And part of it is cultural thing. Like I just don't get it.
It's a super cultural thing. My mom really loves this show from I want to say Brazil. It's basically a 100% full on just like grab and take ripoff of Grey's Anatomy, but it is Brazilian and it's all on YouTube. And it's like they have all the same characters, they have all the same plot lines, they have all the same names. They're literally just remaking episodes of Grey's Anatomy in
but on
Brazil.
YouTube.
And my mom loves that show, and she does not
She
watch
won't watch
Grey's
Grey's
Anatomy.
Anatomy.
No, not at all. Never. The few times I showed it to her,
that's
she's
great.
like, "I've seen this already," because she watched it with the Brazilian actors, and she was like, "This feels like a ripoff." But
See, all right,
apparently, they're
whenever
doing a
say,
great
like,
job.
Whenever they said that, like they're from South America where religion is very big, I'm like, I was raised in the South where religion is very big.
It's mandated in schools and shit.
Yeah, no, like it's my junior high was this is like the one time I did go to public school was like in 7th and 8th grade, and it was weird that we were still like doing like religious shit in the class. Whenever I came from religious school to that, and I was like, why are we still saying this? And then went back to religious school, and I was like, okay, these are the places that make sense. But like not that one.
Until my freshman year of high school, every morning I said the Pledge of Allegiance, the pledge to the Christian flag, and the pledge to the Bible. That was my education growing up in the South.
I didn't have it quite like that. We had growing up, it was the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I don't know, some Christian pledge thing, and then junior high was specifically just the flag. And then there was a separate, if you wanted to, you could also say this, but everyone else said it, so you have to do it thing. And then I went to Catholic school, which was Pledge of Allegiance and all this religious shit. And you're going, like, I went to Catholic school. I went to church multiple times a fucking week.
Yeah.
I was bored out of my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Which is why I started becoming an altar boy, because then you got to get out of class early.
At least you got to do something,
Yeah,
right?
you got to do something. You got to walk around. You got to get out of class early. You got to be to class late and do other things. Everybody's like, well, you're going to be a priest. And I'm like, no, I just don't want to do shit.
One of my best friends...
You know what it is? Like, I get to go open wine at fucking like 12 years old. That's what I'm doing.
One of my best friends in high school used to tell me the stories about him being an altar boy. And he said, it's the reason I don't believe in God. And
Was
I'm like,
Ugly
what
Betty
the fuck are you
originally not
talking about?
American? Because like...
No, Ugly Betty came from somewhere else, the same way plenty of our stuff does.
Okay, because there's the one that Aaron watches that has the telenovela voiceover. It's not Ugly Betty. It's
No, you're talking about
it's the one where she
Jane
gets
the Virgin.
Yeah, Jane the Virgin.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the white people telenovela or the very white Hispanic person telenovela.
Yeah.
And I watched a bit of it and was like, this is fucking fun.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it's in English because otherwise I wouldn't understand a fucking thing that's going on. But if they made telenovelas in that, like with these subtitles, like I'd probably watch that more than any anime because those plot lines are fucking ridiculous.
Oh, well, I mean, Christians in general are going to say anime is satanic if they're
Well,
trying
yeah,
to...
I mean...
If they're trying to, like, throw up...
Well, D&D is going to introduce you to the devil, and video games are a fucking crime. And...
That's the thing about Christians. Is
obviously, if you play video games, you're going to murder people.
Right, so Satan is to Christianity PR
Christ in Spanish.
the way socialism is to Republican PR. All we have to do is call something this, and now it's that.
Everybody will hate it. Yeah. It makes sense.
Got political about this?
Well, no, we're discussing anime and specifically South American as a understanding
so we
of
were
anime
talking about
in
anime,
the early
and now
2000s.
we're into the politics of like 99 and 2000 era South America.
Wow,
Yeah.
that took a turn.
We've been on an adventure since y'all been gone.
Did you feed the dog?
Yes, I did.
Did you? I
Yeah,
missed
no,
it.
she happy. She looked at me. She wants to go outside now.
Good
So
George.
I need to sign us off soon. I need
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
everybody
no,
a dog.
we're good.
So
Thank
I'm gonna
you
give
guys-
you, everyone.
I'm gonna give you a dog.
Thank you
Have a
guys
couple
for
dogs.
watching. We'll see you next week.
Yeah,
Please like
Monday,
and subscribe.
7:30 Central.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe.
Yes. Like and subscribe.
Yes. Hit that thumb way up in your
Put the
cornhole.
thumbs up.
Put your thumb way up in your butt, and then click the mouse with it.
Yikes.
You're gonna have a good time either way.
Yikes, that's-
All right, later.